Hey everybody, it's episode 378 of PodQuest.
Hey.
You jumped in there a little early, didn't you?
Just a little bit. You had a little bit of a extra long stop between 78 and PodQuest, and I just jumped the gun.
You did a little bit. I tried to, I tried to drag it out a little bit. I tried to make it a little more theatrical, if you will.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's Wednesday, November 9th, 2021. No, today's the 10th. How did I put the 9th? Oh, I did this yesterday. Fuck me. It's Wednesday, November 10th. I am Chris. With me is Walnut.
Hello.
Drew might join us later. He might not. He had some errands to run this evening. So if he hops on, he hops on. He did send me over some of his bullet points for the book club stuff so that we can still touch on those things.
Cool. Not bad.
Yeah. He at least came prepared to not be here.
Yeah, which is, he came prepared, he would have been prepared, which is nice to know, nice to see, that, like, he takes this assignment seriously.
At least half of it, because he only watched the one movie, but he told us that.
Whatever, man. Whatever. You made me watch 4 hours of wrestling, and you couldn't watch 3 hours of two movies?
I don't know, you made me watch, 3 hours of a shitty car show.
Yeah, and that's fine. You still watched all 3 hours.
I would have rather watched another 4 hours of wrestling.
Debatable.
That is how much I didn't like Top Gear.
Yeah. Those, I like I said, when we watched them, and afterwards, I'm like, I admit, these probably weren't the best episodes, but they're some of my favorite.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things, it's just not my cup of tea, if you will, for a British show.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, Rich, what's on the agenda?
So, on the agenda, we're gonna do a quick little topic and spoilers about Critical Role Episode 3, the ending of that episode. I've been working hard to watch all of Batwoman and Legends of Tomorrow before next Wednesday from Season 2 and, 6 or 7? Before next Wednesday, so I can be caught up for this season of those shows, because the CW app only holds 5 episodes at a time. Then there was a release for gameplay video and gameplay information for Elden Ring, or Goth Game of Thrones, if you want to call it that. I don't think anybody does besides me.
Yeah, I think you're the only one, yeah.
I mean, it's supposed to be co-written by George R.R. Martin or something like that. I remember he had something to do with it.
He helped develop the world. That's it.
Yeah. So I always made the jokes of Goth Dothraki and Goth Dragons, which I don't think we really saw many. There were dragons. We'll talk about it. Then we played Forza Horizon 5, that came out yesterday. And then our book club discussion of Alive and Alone, which
are two different movies. Because every time I was typing that into the post stuff,
mm-hmm.
It always felt like I was saying that we were watching Alive and Alone, and that was a thing. That was the title of the thing. You're alive and you're alone.
Yeah. I mean, you probably could have just done quotes over Alive and quotes over Alone to show us it's two separate.
Well, I usually bold each one individually, and I say the two movies or the movies.
Mm-hmm. That works.
Yeah.
That works.
And the last thing on the agenda, I watched Ted Lasso over the last week and a half or so.
Yeah, you watched Ted Lasso. I don't have anything against Ted Lasso, but I listen to Fake Doctors, Real Friends, and they do nothing but talk about Ted Lasso on the Scrubs Rewatch podcast, and it kind of gets on my nerves. This week's episode is close to 2 hours, and the first half hour of it was talking about Ted Lasso and how it's going to take all of the awards at the award show, and that Zach's probably going to win one of them. And it's just I'm just alright guys, I don't have Apple TV, I can't watch it, I want to hear about Scrubs.
There are too many of these, rewatch things where
mm-hmm.
the cast of these things are doing a rewatch.
Yeah, but the first ones that did it were the Office Girls, and that was Pam and Angela. They started it, and then it got big after the Scrubs show, after Fake Doctors, Real Friends, because when that blew up during the pandemic, all these there's a One Tree Hill. There's a Parks and Rec with Rob Lowe, whom I'll go on record right now and say he is not a good radio host or podcaster. I don't know why he's on there, probably because he's doing nothing else. He's a great actor, not a good radio personality. I tried to listen to his other show, literally, and I hated it. What else was there? Yeah, there's One Tree Hill. There's that one. There's
Yeah,
a bunch.
there's quite a few.
When I heard about One Tree Hill, though, I was like, what the fuck, man? Come on. That just, really? Is there really that big of a following for that fucking show?
It was on for 10 years.
Yeah, I guess so. But anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show. Talk about some Critical Role. I never thought we'd actually talk about Critical Role as like a conversation and not me just talking at you guys about it.
Yeah. We actually... So we had to watch this last one in 2 episodes because Erica got a little tired near the end of it.
It was a longer one.
It was a long one, and it was a long... it was a long combat in the middle of that one.
Yeah. I will give you this suggestion. When it comes to combat, just put it on 1.25. Or, 1.5 would probably be pushing it, but put it on 1.25 speed. Because a lot of times combat isn't really all that important. Like,
so, Erica doesn't like watching this stuff sped up like that, so
okay.
We just leave it regular. Also, I do it through the TV app, and the TV app is just the settings on there, but it seems to just make like the YouTube app go a little weird when you just like change it back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah, if we were watching it like on the computer or like Chromecasting, it might be a little bit different to kind of like mess with it. But yeah, The TV app is not great with it.
Yeah. So, what'd you think about that ending? Spoilers now. We already spoiler alerted earlier, but spoilers again now, because that's really the big talking point of this episode. Yeah,
that was quite the ending. I will say that. Like non-spoiler to start. I really like the light effects.
Oh yeah. They that was one of the things I think I shared a video with you guys that they shared on their YouTube about like the creation of the new set. And that was one of their things, their main things that they wanted to focus on was like setting the ambiance and making sure that like the lights and effects and the music and stuff like that they're going to have is really felt on set. And so they worked with so many different stage engineers to make sure they could get the right effect that they needed for whenever Matt needs to do an effect.
Yeah, and I like that like the whole cast just seems very like unexpected whenever like it changes. Like even they're just like they're never aware that it's going to happen when it happens.
Yeah, and it's because they unless they're really good actors and this is all scripted and they're just that good of actors, they don't know what Matt has in store. So if Matt's going to do like a dream sequence or something like at the middle of the night, pitch black, they don't know he's going to do it. He's just going to do it, and they're just going to be like, oh my god, what's going on? Like, this would have gone so well with last season. Like, this lighting stuff would have gone so well with Campaign 2 anytime he talked with Ford, whenever he was having a dream sequence with Ford. Anytime we dealt with Yasha when she was, like, going through her stuff. It would have gone over so well with that stuff.
I believe that. I feel like in any situation it would go over well just because it's a very cool aesthetic.
Yeah.
So the ending though, the actual spoilers, there was a death right at the end.
A potential death. We don't know for sure yet. He was stabbed and he took a lot of damage and he went down, but he was not killed. That's D&D rules. He's knocked out. He has 3 death saves that he has to roll. But the enemy could just stab him twice and kill him flat out while he's on the ground. It depends on if the characters can get to him in time, which probably not. It depends on if he can make his death saves, but there was a theory that Bert was being used to push the team together. And so maybe this might have been one of the few instances where I think it's okay to script a moment with another player, but not let them know how and when it's going to happen.
Yeah. So, did you happen to see Matt's tweet after the episode?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so, just to set this up, as we were saying, spoilers again, at the very end of the episode, everyone had kind of like gone their separate ways to like sleep for the night and everything. Travis's character, Bertrand, that's how you say it, right?
Yes.
He stayed behind to have a few more drinks, and as he was leaving the pub they were at, gets attacked by the thing that they had fought earlier in the episode that had run away. And he gets stabbed twice, once in the chest, once in the stomach, and then falls to the ground. While that's happening, Laura's character has like a vision of something that it definitely seems like him dying. But there's nobody near him to actually come to his rescue. And based on the little bit I understand of like movement during combat and the fact that it took his character 2 turns to get upstairs in the same building while they were fighting, I don't think there's enough time for any person to get out to help him if they knew there was something wrong.
Yeah.
And it seems like the only person that may know that something wrong is Laura's character, and she's definitely not in that building anymore.
Yeah.
So Matt tweeted out on the 5th, which I believe was this would have been like literally right after it aired, because it was 2:30 in the morning, November 5th.
Oh yeah, it's definitely 2:30 in the morning. He even I just looked it up while you were explaining that, and he writes like spoilers for this episode, so just be warned and be wary. Don't read this if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, he starts out a little look under the hood for episode 3, Critical Role spoilers. So that was fun. Another little bit of a glance at what led to the end of tonight's session. Travis wanted his Campaign 3 character to join in a little bit down the road, not unlike many classic JRPGs. But it led to an issue. Matt wanted Travis at the table and present for the first episode at least, or more. When given the option to create a character, he was inspired to bring Sir Bertrand Bell back for this purpose, and they discovered the means of his exit. They discussed the means of his exit. Travis proposed the grim end, but agreed he would not know how or when.
Yeah.
And such, they anchored Bertrand into the story and watched where things went. Do not fret, Travis will return in the near future with his true Campaign 3 character, and it is going to be a blast to see the paths collide. So they went into this planning for him to die, because that's like, and you had actually said this based on rumors you had been seeing, that like this was either not Travis's real character, or Travis was not going to be part of this campaign like throughout the full thing. Like he was going to like come and go from it.
Yeah, there was a lot of fan theories out there, and like I said, with even the end of last campaign, it seemed as if, like, the way they were wrapping up, it felt as if maybe people were moving on or moving forward or not staying full-time cast members or whatever. I doubt they had this planned like that far ahead, because that was months ago. That was 3-4 months ago. So it seems that it's legitimate. Like, maybe Travis has a lot going on right now, early on, that he just it's hard for him to fit it all in. He is CEO of the goddamn company, so he probably has a lot he has to deal with just with that in general, plus being a voice actor.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like as a player, they don't have to prepare much going in. Like, it's actually better for them to not prepare like a bunch of things they want to do, because this way it's more on the fly and it's like a more of a group experience.
Yeah, as a player, there's not really much preparation they have to do besides know what's going on and remember what's going on. But when you're producing something this big, like, you need to, like, they have a problem with remembering what actually happened last episode or the previous episode. They tend to, like, because they're filming ahead of time, they might film 2 episodes in a row and then not film for 2 weeks or something like that. That, like, they tend to forget things, and so they as a group, I personally feel, need to do a little bit more prep work and coming into it and just not necessarily rewatching, but remembering everything that happened. And with Travis being CEO of Critical Role and being a voice actor, it might not even necessarily be him having to prepare to play. It might just be the time that he may or may not have. He might have other projects he's working on as a voice actor that's eating away from his CEO time, or vice versa, that it's just maybe Thursdays or the day that they record or the film is the day that he needs off for a bit.
I don't know. I feel like it might just be more of he came up with an idea for a character and thought that character would just be better coming in later versus actually not having enough time to do it. Because, like, even being this, like, if he's the CEO, like, it's their company. Like, they can kind of work around everything else and, like, pick the times that work for the collective group. Because you figure, I mean, before they were filming at night, and doing it live. Now that they're filming ahead of time, like, it's probably much easier, because then they can plan 3 weeks ahead and get the crew and everybody, like, on a set schedule rather than just like, okay, well, everyone's working at night this week.
I think rumor is that they film a week in advance generally.
So they're like 1 week ahead, basically.
When the episode airs live, which is weird. And I've only figured that out because during campaign 2, somebody figured something out, and Sam was checking the chat during one of the pre-recorded episodes. Sam was checking the chat and was like, and found out what a viewer found was theorizing, and brought it up to the whole table. And it was like, the chat said this, the chat said this, and it's like, well, how do you know what the chat said if you pre-record this? So I believe it was like the week prior when they met the character, and that's when the chat was going off, like, hey, this character is this person.
Oh, so like, do you think they record the night that it airs?
The running theory is they record the Thursday before it airs.
That's what I mean.
So when at least that's what I've been able to figure out. Is like they record Thursdays at 7 Eastern or whatever it is, the week before the episode's gonna air.
So it's like, this coming Thursday, episode 4 will air.
Yeah.
And while episode 4 is airing, they will be recording episode 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe.
Which,
I don't
possible.
know for sure. Yeah.
And honestly, recording ahead of time means like they might not record the same day or time every week either.
Yeah.
Because like they all do have other jobs.
Yeah,
like,
they all have day jobs, and they all have jobs within the company of Critical Role itself. So,
and like some of them have kids and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
I think
all
I know Travis
Marisha,
and Laura do.
It's everyone except Marisha and Matt and Taliesin have kids, and Ashley.
Oh, so, yeah, no, that makes sense. You know what I also just found out the other day? The lady that did the intro with Sam.
Mary Elizabeth McGlynn?
Okay, no, not her then. There is somebody else. God, where did I see it now? Oh, you know what it was? It was on Twitter. Never mind. It was something totally unrelated. On Twitter, they had posted pictures after Halloween, and they were out trick-or-treating with Troy Baker's wife.
Oh, yeah, they were out. Yeah, because Troy Baker is in London right now filming something.
Yeah.
And so he can't make it back fast enough due to the pandemic and everything. That, yeah, they, I think was it Sam or was it Travis and Laura that went?
It was all of them, and there were like different pictures.
Yeah, because they're all friends with Troy Baker. I think they kind of want him to come on the show one day, but
I remember, I forget, it was a podcast a while ago, but at some point they lived across the street from each other. I don't know if they still do or not, but like, I think it was like a kind of funny thing with Laura, and she was basically saying that like she's been really good friends with Troy since like the early 2000s when they were both getting started in voice acting. So like they both started in like Texas, and then they both moved to Los Angeles around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, speaking of Troy Baker real quick, like a side thing, he does a podcast with other people that work in and around like the games industry in like different roles. It's called Play, Watch, Listen. The latest title for it, let me just open it up real quick. Very funny, kind of making fun of himself. The title is Chris Pratt is in Everything, says Troy Baker.
Yeah, that's pretty much that's the running joke, the running meme online is like Chris Pratt is voicing everything. Because
but it's
Mario
even funnier.
Garfield.
It's even funnier that Troy Baker is the one to have said it in that podcast, because
now
he literally is in Everything.
Now, what would be even better if it was called Chris Pratt is in Everything? What was it? Chris Pratt is in Everything. What?
Says Troy Baker.
Says Troy Baker. An interview with Chris Sabat.
Yeah, that would also.
That would make it even better. So.
Yeah, we were actually this past weekend was like the first weekend of Extra Life stuff for a lot of sites.
Yeah.
And MinMax was doing their stream, and at one point on Saturday they were doing like a trivia game, and one of the categories for the trivia, it was called Nolan or both. And it was the guy doing the trivia would read off a game title, and you had to like buzz in and basically say whether the title had a colon in it, whether the title had Nolan North in it, or if it had both of them in it.
Okay, yeah.
And it was very good because at one point they said Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor. And like the first person went in and they just said, "Oh, it's got a colon," and then the second person said, "Oh no, it's Nolan North," and the third one was probably just like both.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking both.
Yeah. But back to Critical Role and what we were saying. Yeah, I totally agree that it was probably like what Matt says. This departure was part of the story. Like, this is what Travis wanted. Not because of time-wise or anything like that. I like the idea of characters coming in and a JRPG style later on. It maybe just whatever design of a character Travis had, it just didn't make sense for them to be in Dressar. So and this is a really good way to bring all the characters in, bring all the actors in together, and form a group, and then have a tragedy happen. That's generally some of the best ways to DM.
It's basically the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like the MCU Avengers.
Yeah. Like I've never a lot of my games that I run, anytime I run a game, when I'm trying to set the characters together, there's a tragedy that happens that pulls them in, that keeps them together. So with my home game, it was the town that they were in was attacked by goblins. They worked together to save it and then rescue the people, and then they were going to get arrested if they didn't stick together for a little bit longer to become licensed adventurers. And so they did that, which kept them together as a group. In this one, in the podcast that we do, it's that they were charged with rescuing people, and hopefully them being out together trying to rescue people helps them formulate a bond with each other to where they want to stick with each other.
Which, who knows with those four?
Who knows? I totally expect Eric's character to just leave right away.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But so I did see a video online earlier, talking about like some of like the theories for it. And one of them, and I'm definitely missed this in the actual episode, but I guess at some point Marisha's character asked somebody if they were looking for like a good witch or a bad witch or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was Orm. Does that sound like a name?
Yeah, Orm is Liam's character.
Right. Okay. And they responded like good, but like paused. And so the I guess like the internet theory is that maybe that's going to end up being Travis's character. Like maybe he will come in with a caster.
Mm-hmm.
That leans more to like the good side than the group they kind of have.
Yeah, maybe. The group they have seems to be a very good group and not a neutral group. I feel like really the only one who's leaning most neutral would be Ashley and Taliesin. They have like the more neutral characters. Everyone else seems to be leaning more on the good, not lawful, but maybe like neutral or chaotic good. Whereas those two seem to be like more like a lawful neutral or chaotic neutral. Not chaotic, true neutral.
Yeah. Like, they're kind of somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, because, like, and it showed in episode 2 with Ashton, where he's like, you don't steal copper. Like, you can steal anything else. Like, you steal silver if they're an asshole. You steal gold because it's gold. But you don't steal copper. And it's like, that's, like, he's like, alright, I'm willing to, like, steal. He's a neutral character. But he has a law that he goes by. He has a, I can't think of the word right now. A creed, I guess, that he goes by.
Yeah, no, that creed seems like the right word.
Yeah. And
like
what's her name? Fern is just a chaotic, neutral character. She's just chaotic.
Yeah. But also probably the funniest one right now, especially now that Bertrand is gone.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I kind of had a feeling Bertrand, even before I looked into the fan theories and stuff, I definitely had a feeling that Bertrand was not going to be a lasting character. A, based on how, Travis was playing him. B, based on the fact that he was level 5, where everyone else was level 3. Like, it was like, he's not going to be a long-lasting character. He's going to be, he is bringing the characters, which is a good way to play this game.
But he was also just incredibly funny.
He was hilarious. Bertrand, and if you ever get a chance, watch, the Rescue Grog, the Search for Grog, which, is, you don't really need to know anything except they defeated the ultimate evil in Campaign 1, and Grog decides to pull a few cards from the deck of many things, and his soul gets bound to the plane of, I can't remember what plane it is, but it's a very, devious, dastardly plane of existence, in the multi-realms or whatever, and, they have to go rescue his soul. And so Travis needed to create a new character, and so he created Bertrand Bell based off of, Harry Potter 2. What's his name?
Oh, Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yes, he's based, because Travis is a huge Harry Potter fan, and so he makes Bertrand based off of Gilderoy, where he's like, oh, I know all this, I'm the greatest, and that's how Bertrand was always played, like, I'm the best, I know where we're going, I'll be your guide, and he's like, I've never fucking been here before in my life, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah.
He did very well with it, I have to say.
He did.
And like he had a lot of good little like quips and one-liners.
Yeah.
So the video I saw had another like theory thing in there that I thought was interesting. So Marisha's character is like a hollowed or a hollow or something like that.
I don't know what race she actually is. They haven't expressed it, and I haven't really like looked into it.
So from what this video is saying, it's the way that they've portrayed it and like talked around it. It seems like a hollowed or a hollow or something along those lines that's in one of the like extra books. So like not like a normal race, but they're basically dead bodies that didn't die all the way. Like the souls left them, but they stayed animated, but not like in a zombie way.
Yeah.
And that she is from, I guess, before the end of the first campaign, because she alludes to being from that area.
Yeah, so she is from Whitestone, and she mentions the search for Vox Machina and how, like, they turned the city over trying to find them, which is all... Honestly, the Legends of Vox Machina is going to have that stuff in it. The cartoon that comes out, I believe, was February on Amazon. That's going to be part of it, because that's all of the Briarwood arc. Like, Laudna's not going to be in it, unless maybe she makes a cameo. But that is the turning of Whitestone to try to find Vox Machina is going to be a part of that series.
Yeah. So the theory that this video was talking about was basically that she is much older, because if she is one of these hollow things, they don't age. Like they're basically like whenever they died, like with air quotes, like that's where they're left. So like she is portrayed as like a youngish woman, but also like basically says like she's older than she looks and like stuff that happened a long time ago. So the theory was that she is actually somehow connected to one of the characters from the first campaign in like probably like an arbitrary way.
Yeah, I mean she's probably she's sorcerer warlock, which is an interesting choice. And she probably has something to do with Percy. It's just straight up.
That's the name, because apparently she even has like the same hair aesthetic, like black hair with like a white streak or something like that.
Yeah, well, Percy's hair was just pure white. Hold on, let me pull up his wiki, because he had several siblings. And only one of them survived Whitestone being taken over, and that would be Cassandra.
But I think that what they were saying is that like maybe this is a different sibling or some other relative that didn't survive it.
Yeah.
And became whatever, like this hollow thing.
Yeah, like she might have died but came back because of the necrotic magics that were there. Yeah, which is completely reasonable. The Whitestone was a horrible, horrible place before Vox Machina rescued it. It was run by a vampire and a witch, and it's a terrible place. So it definitely makes sense. Not even necessarily that she has relation to Percy or the DeRollo family. Like she has white hair because of the resurrection magics. Pike had white hair because she was resurrected, and she wasn't resurrected perfectly, because it was before any of them had the magic to actually do a resurrection spell. So they had to go through like a whole quest to bring her back to life.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's plenty of things. I don't think she has any ties to Percy and the DeRollo family besides the fact that she's just from Whitestone. I wouldn't. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, which is totally possible. Like, I don't know one way or the other because I don't really know what any of that stuff is.
Uh-huh.
I just thought it was interesting that, like, people seem to be, like, finding, like, not completely unrealistic connections based on, like, things that were actually said by the character.
Yeah. I mean, that's, and that goes again with what I was saying earlier when they were talking about, like, the fan base for this show is insane. Because in Campaign 2, when they met this character, it was like a couple episodes when they came back, after they came back from the break, they met a character who was missing a leg and all they knew about this character is that this character was missing a leg and they were a druid. And people immediately started like, oh my god, that's Keyleth's mom, who Keyleth is, Marisha's character from Campaign 1. And, like, she had gone missing, and Keyleth basically went out to both go find her and complete the rites that her mom went to go complete. And it's just like, the fans figured that out almost immediately, and then none of the cast even thought about that. None of them thought about that at all. Until they started seeing what was in the chat. And they were like, oh my god.
Which, and honestly, like, stuff like that could be happening now, like you said, like, because they're recording ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
They might see what some of this is, and, like, it might be giving them other ideas of, like, either ways to steer into that more and make, like, not to actually do it, but just to make people suspect it more, or to take it in the other direction because they don't want people to make those ties and get too expectant of something like that happening.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
But I was going to say something. Oh, and last thing I'll say is about the actual, like, death scene at the end. The fact that everybody looked shocked, including Travis, was very good. Like,
yeah.
I realize they're all actors, so, like, they could definitely be, like, pretending. But, like, they all looked genuinely, like, stunned when that was happening.
Yeah, I am a little perturbed about how it did feel like Travis knew that was his time to go. Like, that session was his time to go. Because, like Matt said, like, he doesn't know when or how or whatever. But, like, he just seemed like... And a lot of them did seem like they didn't want him to leave. At least Dorian was like, no, you gotta stay. We'll keep you here longer. Or whatever. Like, it kind of did feel like maybe they knew, but at the same time they didn't know. It was a little hard. It's one of those moments that, like, there is a big, like, complaint that a lot of people think the show is scripted. And that's one of those moments that, like, there's no way Travis didn't know that was gonna be how he was gonna go, or that he was gonna die. Like, he purposely was getting himself alone so that he could be killed.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's one of those things where everybody knew that character was on, like, a short timer. They just didn't know when.
I would not expect anybody to know that Bertrand was going to be on a short timer. I would expect that to be something that was only kept between Matt and Travis.
Which, I mean, that's also possible. I was just saying, like, I wouldn't be surprised if everybody knew that was, like, that character was going to leave at some point, and just no one knew when. So, like, people were just trying to make sure that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Especially after those first 3 episodes where, like, that character is just super fun and makes for a good like, not catalyst, like a good character to play off of and to just lighten the mood and say goofy things. Because you can tell by some of their reactions, like, the stuff's not scripted. Like,
oh yeah,
people,
absolutely.
They break way too often
and
too realistically for it to be scripted.
They would definitely be able to be on Saturday Night Live during the Fallon stages, because Fallon would always break.
But, so, like, Fallon breaks were always super obvious, and, like, you'd, like, look at the camera and stuff like that. When they break, like, it's these very, like, legitimate breaks, and it's not always everybody. Like, I forget what was said in this most recent one. Somebody said something that, like, not everybody caught, but Marisha just lost it. Like, she literally, like, was laying on the table, like, laughing.
It was probably because I believe FCG brought up pussy again. I'm not sure though. I haven't done my rewatch of this week's episode.
Because you're trying to catch up on all the CW stuff.
I was focusing on the CW stuff.
Speaking of CW stuff,
how
are you enjoying Batwoman Season 2 from last season?
So, Season 2 of Batwoman was really good. Like, it wasn't the best, but it was, for what it was really good. And I enjoyed it. I liked how they brought in Ryan. I like that they're able to just write off Ruby Rose's, rude, abrupt, but now based on what she has said, in recent days, rude, departure from the show. Like they were able to just like write that off, but they still like didn't kill off the character and stuff. It was very well done. It took a little bit for them to all get into their rhythm with this new lead, but it all works. It really all works, and I enjoyed it. I was also honestly a little shocked as to how many hot button topics they did attack during this season.
Yeah, especially, well, because this season was the first season after Floyd and all of the Black Lives Matter and the the issues with cops throughout the country kind of coming to a head. So, like, it made sense considering, like, the majority of that cast are people of color.
Yeah, like, they fit in ACAB. They said it was all crows are bastards, but come on now. But they fit in ACAB. They talked about for-profit prison system. They police brutality and abuse of power. Like, there were so many hot-button topics that they tackled with this that, like, I'm not going to say it went heavy-handed, but, like, it was a little heavy. But I hope they keep going with it. And, like, Batwoman and Supergirl tended to, like, really lean harder on these topics than the rest of the shows did.
Well, because they're not, I mean, Legends kind of falls in a weird place just because that show is, like, more comical and, like, off to the side.
Yeah.
But, like, Arrow and Flash are both led by white guys.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the other shows, like, one's led by a female, and the other one is, at least from this season forward, is led by a female person of color, and basically everyone in that cast, other than Alice and her dad, are not white.
Yeah. Oh, everyone in the cast besides Alice and her dad have some form of, prejudice against them. But even Alice has prejudice against her because she's a woman. So it's like there's female lead, there's African-American female lead, there's LGBTQ plus African-American female lead. Like, a lot of the characters in this show have some type of hardcore, like, racism or prejudice against them that, like, it really fits that they attack these topics that need to be attacked.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're right. Like, in some senses, it is a little heavy-handed, and I think that's just, it's a CW show. Like, you're not going to get real subtle ways of doing this. Like, they're going to just be very blatant with it, just because, like, the demographic is, like, 14 to 25.
Yeah, the demographic is, are Democrats that are trying to change the world, and young Democrats that are trying to change the world. So, obviously, they're going to lean towards that, which I like. That stuff needs to be out on public media even more. Like, the world needs to know that, hey, the United States has a for-profit prison system that feeds on prisoners going back to prison.
Yeah.
This is a legitimate issue. Adam ruined it years ago, and nothing came of it because no one recognizes that show as a good factual show, even though it is. And
well, also the people. No, it's also the people that are actually in charge of this stuff don't want it to go away because they're the ones making a profit off of it.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want it to go away because they're making a profit. So the Republicans and those that are out there that take in the money from the prison systems and shit like that, they're like, all right, we need to keep this going. So we like the one episode where it was where they were basically showing that, like, for-profit prison systems are terrible was when they attacked the community center. Like, there are politicians out there that are like, I need to keep bringing in money from the prisons, so I don't want to help the at-risk youth.
There's actually there's a similar trend in the later half of Supergirl from I guess it would have been like August, September when the show came back after its break.
Yeah.
With a similar thing where like the congresswoman or senator or whatever I think it was congresswoman, for like a section of the city, like she was rich and didn't give, and like it was a lower class section of the city. She was rich and just wanted to tear everything down and build offices and restaurants and gentrify it and fuck all the people that live there. And that was like a 2-ish episode arc in there.
Yeah.
That like, that's unfortunately the way a lot of that stuff goes in the real world too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But did you finish season 2? I know you said you were trying to.
Yeah, I finished it. I got through the last episode at about 5:30. I got held up with some work meetings, so I wasn't able to get it done as fast as I wanted it to, but I was able to finish season 2. And it wrapped up well. I like the idea of Kate leaving, and not taking back over the mantle of Batwoman and keeping it with Ryan, because they built a good character with Ryan. It took some time for me to like actually fully like her, but by the end of it, I'm like, this is a great character, and I don't want her to leave. Yeah,
like the first half of the season, I'm gonna say, it like they're trying to find their footing. There were good episodes, there were meh episodes. I think overall, though, like the whole season, it was definitely much stronger especially like when you consider like they had to basically rework the whole show with a new lead, than the first season was. Like, I can't remember the actress's name, but the actress that plays Ryan is a significantly better actress than Ruby Rose.
Yes, she is.
And even the actress they brought in to play Kate, also much better actress, should have been Kate from the beginning.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, I'm kind of glad it went the way it did, because we wouldn't have a character like Ryan, and they can always bring Kate in as a different character. Like, it's not uncommon for Bat characters to pick up different mantles over time.
Yeah, exactly.
You met in the middle of this season, you met Cluemaster, which that episode also had his daughter, Stephanie Brown, who has been Robin, Batgirl, and Spoiler. I think right now she's technically Spoiler, but she's part of the Batgirls like group. Yeah, and then there was that the heist guy, something Monkey, I think, or I can't remember his name. But he is the one who administered the cure to Luke when he was dying. He's the one who tried to steal the map early on. I can't remember his villain name, but like I don't know if he's a flat out villain or if he's going to be like an anti-hero or something. That season ended long enough ago that I don't remember that. I remember Luke almost dying. I remember him wanting to die because like he was kind of at peace at the end there, and then then he had that episode with Diggle and kind of like got his shit together, got his Batwing suit, and now he's Batwing. Yeah, which I'm excited to see where that goes. I will say this show, and I think I had the same problem with last season as well, with season 1. There's a lot of consistency errors, a lot of them. Just going the last episode or the last episode, where Mary gets rescued by Luke in the suit, and then they cut to commercial. They come back, and Mary is down the block talking to Ryan, giving her the spray to give to Kate, and Luke is still fighting the bad guy. I mean, that doesn't mean that it's like continuity error. That just means that the bad guy got back up. Well, no, but he rescues her, and they drop to the ground and fall to the ground and land on their backs. And Luke says, like, there's some still working out some kinks. Cut to commercial. Come back. Mary is down the street, blocks away, talking with Ryan, and Luke is fighting the same villain that they were fighting after he had fallen to the ground. But he's up and fine, and it's just like it's a little inconsistent. They had this issue in season 1. There was like I don't remember when they explained why the power was out at the end of this episode. I don't know if it was right in the beginning and I missed it, but there were some other issues that I had where I'm just like, that's just like, how did this happen in this little amount of time that was supposed to be between this? And we don't know how much time actually, like, you can't assume a commercial, like the 2 minutes of a commercial break is how long happened in the show. Like, it could have been 10 minutes of him fighting. True, but you would assume that if there was a commercial break after characters fell to the ground while in the middle of a fight, it would come back with
Mary running away from the fight. It didn't even have her running away. It was
doesn't add anything. They got 42 minutes. They got to get everything in by just, they didn't die when they landed. So just cutting out that, and they probably did film her running away and then realized that they were at 44 minutes instead of 42. Yeah. And they're like, all right, well, we'll cut this. This will be our commercial break. We'll come back to Luke fighting and Mary talking to whoever she was talking to.
I mean, that's the thing. If it would have come back to Luke fighting first, then it would have floated better, because it would have been like Luke gets up and fights him, and then it shows cuts between that, Mary talking to Ryan, and then cuts back to Luke fighting. I don't know. It's just
you're being nitpicky for a network television series.
It had these issues last season too, with her dad being in prison one episode and then just not the next episode out of nowhere. There was no explanation of how he got out of prison or anything. He just was no longer in prison. They have some minor continuity issues between episodes and in episodes. The other thing that made me just laugh was when Alice put the face on Kate and it just stuck.
Oh yeah, and that's been every time she does that stuff. She doesn't really do anything, and then all of a sudden these faces just fit perfectly. There's no sew marks or anything. They're just perfect faces. Yeah,
and it just sticks there. And I could have swore that at least with Hush, I believe his name is Hush. It was sewed on at the end of last season.
So no, he didn't have the face on at the end of the season. They showed him with the face cut off, so he just had skin left around his eyes, basically.
Yeah.
And then he had the bandages on because he was supposed to look like the actual Hush character with the bandages.
Yeah, and so that was with a seasonal break between that last episode and the first one. It's reasonable that maybe that graft healed to him, but literally the second Alice lets go, the skin just sticks, and I'm like, come on now, come on, and how it's the pharmaceutical guy, what's his name? Black Mask, was just like, oh yeah, my pharmaceutical company makes a rejuvenating healing cream that healed all of her burns.
Dude, it's a superhero show. There's literally people with superpowers in this universe.
Which is fine, but the only thing that can heal people like that is a plant called Desert Rose, and there's one left in the world, and this guy doesn't have a healing cream that, it wasn't just, her burns weren't just, her skin was all, gross. She was still burned and bloody and stuff from the burns.
Like I said, you're being nitpicky, man.
No, it's just minor continuity errors, but overall look, when you liked something that much, and you feel like you kind of gotta pick it apart a little bit, you do get nitpicky. It was a good season. It wasn't terrible. For what it was, for a post-COVID season, for them trying to make up for the loss of an actress, they did a really good job with it. And it was. I'm kind of upset I waited this long to watch it, but it's worth a watch.
Yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes of season 3 today,
and
they're not bad. The first episode was just another episode. There wasn't really anything special about it for more or less. The second episode is definitely the one where they're kind of getting the story into gear, because they were talking about it beforehand that in the previews and all for it, that Alice is basically being released on house arrest in a way to try to, because she's being forced to help them locate all of the villain stuff that's stolen at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
So that stuff starts to happen in episode 2, so you can see it's still not perfect. They're still trying to figure out where the season's going, but at least the story's moving on. You're gonna start Legends next?
Yes, I'll probably watch that because I'm off tomorrow. So if I'm gonna try to stick to doing a lot of cleaning. Might watch an episode or 2 before I stream, but besides that, I'll probably get to Legends after I'm done this week's episode of Critical Role on Friday for a couple of episodes. But I do plan on watching the first episode of Batwoman probably tonight after we get done. Maybe a couple episodes of Legends, depending on how much time we have if I don't stream tonight.
Yeah, I will say, I normally really like Legends. I did not care for last season.
Yeah.
It wasn't awful. Like, it was better than the first season, but I feel like it just kind of did a disservice to a lot of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a few good moments with characters in there, and then when they had other moments that should have been good character moments, they were just very, like, eh.
Yeah.
Like, they just missed it entirely. And yeah, just that whole season just felt... I like the new and newer characters. Like, they bring, like, Astra is like a main character, and they bring in somebody else also who's new, and like they have like a fun kind of rivalry is not the right word, but like they're not straight enemies. But Astra and this new character kind of butt heads a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some like genuinely funny episodes in there. There's an episode where they do like the let's just keep going back in time and trying to get this thing right, and they just keep fucking it up.
Okay.
There's an episode where Astra is trying to learn magic and accidentally turns everybody into random objects, like stuff like that. Like, there are some good goofy episodes. I feel like there was a cartoon episode also. I might be misremembering that, but like there are like good episodes here and there. But I think the overall season was just one of the weaker seasons.
Yeah, and it's kind of fitting that CW formula because it is season 6.
Yeah, because I think season 7 just started.
Yeah, so and like usually like those mid seasons, like the later mid seasons in a lot of CW shows just aren't the best.
Yeah, Legends has been that one where like they got that first season wasn't very good.
Mm-hmm.
But then like from season 2 on, like 2 through 5, they weren't, always like home runs, but they were more often than not like really entertaining seasons that like I was excited to watch. And the most recent one was just like, oh, I have there's another episode. Oh no, there's 2. I should probably watch these before they build up any more. I did just watch the first episode of season 7. It's at least shaping up to be a better season.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the Elden Ring stuff?
Yeah. It's not really much that I guess I can say about it because you're not interested in it. And I was hoping I think Dritten kind of likes those games. I'm not really sure. I was hoping he'd be on here. We could talk about it a little bit, but they dropped like I think it was like a half hour or something like that. I know IGN only had like 15 minutes, but I think different sites had different amounts of time. And so it was just like...
Yeah, the stream was about 20 minutes of like... And like I said this in the group chat, that stream, that like gameplay reveal stream, mm-hmm. was the driest fucking thing I've ever seen. Like, the narrator sounded like he was on fucking PBS telling us about medieval times. Yeah,
and the IGN, they cut that down to 15 minutes. And it did. It, like, the narrator and what was being shown was just, it was kind of dull, but, like I said to you, it wasn't about how they presented it, but it was what they were presenting. And the first thing I just want to mention is, oh my god, there's fucking color in this game.
Yeah. Is it just me, or does, like, the game not look... Like, it looks good, but I feel like it doesn't look as good as a lot of other PS5 and Xbox Series X games look, as far as, like, the character goes. Like, I think the environment looks really good, but something about the characters just didn't.
The jumping and stuff looked a little choppy. The character did look a little, like, not all that great. Like, I can agree with that. Like, when I saw them jump, I was just like, that jump looks bad. I'm hoping that maybe it's just like, this is still like a beta, like not a finalized version, and they're still tweaking it, but they wanted to show this off.
You know what, that's fair, because it doesn't come out till, what, late January, early February? I think it may have actually just gotten delayed by a few weeks.
Yeah, something like that. And so, the characters did seem off, but, like, the world setting looked great with all those gold trees and everything that you saw around it. Like, it's interesting that they're, like, turning this into an open world game. Most Souls games aren't open world. Most From Software games aren't open. Like, they're very linear. Like, the closest thing to open world would maybe be Bloodborne, and that's
but even then, it's very linear.
It's linear to a point. Like, you at some points you can like go left or right or whatever to take different paths, but overall, it's once you pick a destination, it's very straightforward. Whereas in Elden Ring, it's like from the get go, you can just go anywhere and do anything. You can probably potentially go to the ending boss like right away. But it looks like the game itself looks great. I like the idea of like summoning the souls to come help you fight. like the summons in general, and it does look like they're focusing a lot more on potentially using magical combat and less on like physical combat. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who is huge into the From Software games, and he's like, they're pretty much just throwing everything they've done in all their games into. So, like, Sekiro had a stagger meter.
It's Sekiro.
Whatever. They had a stagger meter in that game, and so you, it wasn't about killing them and taking their health all the way down. It was about attacking them to fill up their stagger meter for them to drop down for you to get that one-hit kill. And so, like, that's potentially something they're going to be throwing in there, plus using the magic, and the combat looks a little bit more fast-paced, and then, like, the summons and all of that. It just, to me, it looked fantastic, and it sold me on the game. Like, I was a little hesitant because of the whole George R.R. Martin inclusion, but, like, it kind of sold me on it, and I'm totally for it.
Yeah, and it's not like he didn't write the game. He just helped them come up with the lore of the world.
Yeah.
Like, that's all he did. And even then, he is not a fantastic writer, but like he actually he's very creative, and like the world he came up with for A Song of Ice and Fire, super detailed and creative, and like the story in like broad swings is really good. It's like it's just too long, and he's too slow.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you figure the last like 2.5 seasons of Game of Thrones were not based off of his material because they essentially ran out of material.
Yeah.
But I thought it looked neat. Like, other than it looked dated, but like you said, that might actually just be from, what's the word I'm looking for? From it not being gold yet.
Yeah.
Like, it's an earlier build or something like that. Like, it was enough to kind of show it off. But, like, I know those games, like, not that those games ever look bad. They are always, they're dark and gritty, but they look good dark and gritty. Something about this one, it just looked last gen is the best way I can think of it. Especially with just the movement, and especially like the hair and the things that were a little more flowy.
Yeah.
But I ended up actually watching quite a bit of things from it. So like I watched the 20-minute stream. I watched GameSpot had their like actual gameplay like demo of it, and I watched who else was it? And MinMax had like a quick little 10-minute video of it that included just the end was just 3 minutes of a boss fight, like from start to finish, like the actual beating of the boss. So like I got a pretty good idea for like what the combat probably will look like, and it does look a little more forgiving than I feel like Bloodborne and Dark Souls were, from like the little bit I played of both of them, because it, like you said, it does seem like they're giving you the ability to rely on magic a little bit more. So it seemed like they were able to hit with attacks from a distance a little bit more often, and then also get in, do a quick attack, and get out a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I was just never real good with those, so...
Well, I mean, you gotta get good. You got good with Metroid. Now it's time to get good with other games.
2D is different.
I don't know, man. I don't know. There's only 2 axes in 2D. There's 3 in 3D. So
I mean, and that's the problem.
It's easier because there's more of an area that you can get away from.
But that's the thing, like, if I can just go up, down, left, right, and the camera is static, it's much easier than a situation where I can kind of, where you have to be aware of the entire environment 360 degrees.
That just sounds like you gotta get good.
I also, like we've talked about before, I don't like redoing things. Like, I legitimately hate redoing things.
Mm-hmm.
So, Metroid was very forgiving, where if you died, you were 30 seconds from where you died, usually, if it was in like a boss fight or against an enemy. There was no real backtracking to it. Games like the Souls games, where you have to get back to where you were, where you died, and then also pick up all your stuff again. Like, I hate that. That's just... I've never been a fan of that. Like, I die once and I'm just like, alright, cool. Like, this is what this is. I'm done. Bye.
You're missing out, man. You're missing out. There's so many games out there that are just so good if you could just get past that little hurdle of, you're gonna die, and you're gonna have to go back through things.
It's not fun for me. Like, we've talked about before, I don't think it's fun 9 times out of 10 fighting a boss 10 times trying to figure out the mechanics of it. Like, I don't get that, oh, this is great, I got to another phase. It's just like, oh, great, there's another fucking phase. Cool, let's go fight this boss 10 more fucking times then, assuming that I'm actually good enough at the first phase to get to the second phase every time.
But, like, you like Hades. That's all that game is.
I don't like Hades the way, like, Drew likes Hades. I think as far as those games go, Hades was at least interesting, and the gameplay felt good. I did not play Hades beyond, I don't know, 5 hours, if that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I could, if my Switch was upstairs, I could tell you for sure. But like, I only ever got to, I'm trying to think. I beat Megara. I beat the snake. The
Hydra.
No, the skeleton snake. The second boss. I want to say
Hydra.
Oh god, that was a Hydra. Shit, that's right. I forgot it had more than one head. And then I think I got up to the boss after that, or maybe like the mid boss after that.
Yeah.
And I only got to that mid boss one time, and at that point I was done. I'm just like, okay, cool.
Man, you give me shit, but me and you have gotten the same length.
But like, I give you shit because you say that the game is bad. I don't think the game's bad, and I don't think the Souls games are bad. I think they're not for me. That's the difference.
I will say I've never said the game is bad. The game just doesn't live up to the hype.
See, I think it does. I think it lives up to the hype that it has.
How can you think it lives up to the hype if you only played it for 5 hours and you didn't even beat one run?
I think the combat's actually very good. I think everything about the narrative is really good. I think all the voice acting isn't the greatest voice acting, but for a relatively small studio, like, it's acted really well. The writing's really good. I think the environments are very pretty. Like, I enjoy everything about the game other than having to redo the same thing over and over again. Like, if this wasn't a roguelike and it was just like a Metroid, and when you died, you would just respawn, like, kind of outside the boss door, and I could just keep running right back in and trying again, I probably would. Because it is that isometric top-down perspective where, like, I don't have to lock onto something and move in a circle and hope that I don't back up too far and fall off a cliff or something stupid. Yeah, like, I played Bloodborne, like, I probably played Bloodborne for 5 hours, too, and I never even got to a boss. Because, like, I don't like that kind of combat, so, like, it wasn't fun for me. Like, I'd get to the same point, I would die, and I'd just put the game down, and I'd come back to it, like, a week later, try again, die in the same place, and put the game down. Because it's just, I get frustrated with it. Like, it's not, I want to play a game to have fun, and that's just the opposite of fun for me. Whereas, like, it's kind of like you with, like, platformers. Like, you don't enjoy platformers generally. Like, I watched you play Mario World, like, and like I jokingly, like, sent you that message. Like, you are bad at Mario. Like, you're bad at platformers.
I am bad at platformers. Trust me, it's not that I don't enjoy it. I'm bad at them. It's not that I don't enjoy them. I like playing them. I'm just bad at them. So then I rage quit after about an hour.
Yeah, see, I don't necessarily rage quit, but the thing is, like, you'll sit there and keep trying for an hour and just get more and more frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
The first time it happens is like, all right, I didn't have fun getting to this point. I'm not going to do it again. So, like, I just don't do it again, which is why I don't buy those games. When Redbox was a thing, I'd rent them because it's like, all right, I'll spend $5 to play this game for like a day or two and see if it ever clicks. Because that's the thing. Like, if it ever clicked for me and like I actually had a good time with it, cool. Like I'd play it longer. And like I said, I don't think they're bad games. I think they're actually very well-made games, and the people that like them, like, have every right to like them, and they deserve all the praise they get. They never clicked for me, and I don't enjoy them.
Yeah.
But, like, I think all the stuff about Elden Ring looks and sounds interesting. Like, I think if one of them could click, it'd be that one. But it's going to be $70, and kind of like we were talking about with Returnal in that Discord chat with your brother the one time. I can't do $70 on a game that I might play for an hour and then just nope right the fuck out of.
Yeah, no, it's I'm totally all for that. Like, I'm the same. I can't pay $70 on a game that I don't know if I'm gonna play. Like, this is one thing why I'm super excited with Games Pass is, like, I'm playing Forza 5. I wasn't sure how I was gonna Forza 5 or not. I was super excited for it, but I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it or not. So, like, I knew I was gonna wait until Forza came out to get Games Pass, to try it for $1, and if I liked it, maybe potentially buy it in the future, or keep Games Pass. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I wouldn't necessarily ever buy a Forza game, but I'll totally play it on Games Pass, and I was even considering, like, buying one of the car packs, because they're like $5. It's like, I'll give these guys $5. Like, I would give them more than that, just, I know I'm not going to play this game enough to warrant 60.
Yeah. Like, at this point, I'm just kind of hoping they do, like, some sort of cross saves or whatever, so that if and when I stop doing Games Pass, if I want to play Forza again, and it gets really cheap on Steam, I could just buy it on Steam instead of I could reactivate my Games Pass for a month for $10, and then play it for a month, but we'll see. We'll see where that goes.
I mean, there's also always a chance that it would just be cheap. It would go on sale in the Microsoft Store, and then you would have cross-save.
Yeah, if it goes on sale in the Microsoft Store, just flat out in general, then, and it's a really good sale, I would just buy it on the Microsoft Store.
But yeah, I signed up for the network test for Elden Ring. I signed up for PS5 and Xbox. So I'm like, you know what? Like, if I will play if it's like a network test like that, I'll give it a couple hours to like try it out, see if anything clicks for me, or like if it was ever on Game Pass, like we're just saying. I would download it on Game Pass, even if it was only available on the PC Game Pass. Like, I would download it and just give it a shot. Like, see if anything clicked. And, like, if it clicked on the PC and it was just like, oh, okay, like, I get this one, like, the combat's better, like I can do this combat and it's not super frustrating, I'd consider buying it on the console where I would actually play it.
Yeah.
But, like, I doubt this game is going to go on Game Pass, at least in the first year or two. It might be like one of those games like down the road.
I don't think it'll ever go on Games Pass. If anything, we're probably more likely to get it as a PS Plus game down the line than.
I mean, that's possible. It is multi-platform.
Bloodborne was and is a PS Plus game.
It's also a PlayStation exclusive.
Well, and From Software tends to prefer PlayStation over Microsoft and it.
I mean, or Sony at least pays them enough money to prefer it.
Yeah, exactly.
But we already mentioned it a little bit, so why don't we, I think the next thing on here was Forza. Yeah, let's talk about Forza.
Yes, we got the zoomies, guys. We got the zoomies. We went zoom in Mexico, and we played Forza. And that game is very pretty.
All right, I have a question real quick before we get into this.
Yes.
Am I saying it wrong, or are you saying it wrong? Because it sounds like you're saying it with a T.
It's how it's supposed to be pronounced, Forza.
Really?
Yes. I think we also went over this a while back.
We may have during one of the previous games.
Let's see what Google says. How pronouns.
Because is Forza anything other than a game? Like, is it actually a car thing the way like FIFA is a soccer thing?
I'm not 100% sure. According to Screen Rant, it's when referring to Forza, it's Forza and not Forza.
Okay.
And this is from a 2019.
I'll take it.
Article.
Like I was not trying to say you were saying it wrong. Like, I was legitimately curious, like, which one of us was saying it wrong.
Yeah, it's I believe I heard this back like years ago, even before 2019. There's a Reddit thread about it from 2016, and it's an Italian word, and I guess the R and the F, I don't know how it gets the T, but I guess maybe like the R and the Z make the RTZ, Forza. It's Forza is how you pronounce it. So, let's see if Screen Rant actually explains it.
It's not that important. I believe you. What do you think of it so far, though?
It's actually, Forza Motorsports Twitter even had a tweet that it was, we really, a bunch of reallys need everyone to know it's pronounced Forza.
Okay. That's fair.
It is a very pretty game. I like the setting in Mexico and all the different, I guess you could call them biomes.
I think that's a fair. I mean, look, this is a car PG.
It is a car PG. And it's fun. It is very fun. I could definitely do without any of the story fucking bullshit.
See, that's the only thing I'm enjoying. Like, I mean, like, I enjoy, like, the just, like, driving around, like, the open worldness, but, like, I don't give a fuck about any of the races. I like all the goofy shit that other people need help with.
See, the best racing game out there ever is Burnout Paradise. All that game is just you in a fucking car doing different races, doing different tests, doing different objectives. Like, I used to play that game all the time. I would step away from it, come back 2 years later, start over, play it again, and it was like, as far as I can remember, there's no actual full story and story mode with it. It's just, you do this, you do these races, you race these cars. And that's what I play like a Forza game 4 is like the car simulators, the racing simulator.
So when was the last time you played a Horizon?
I actually have never played a Horizon.
Okay, so this is always how those games are, at least since 3. They're always, it's these big festivals in whatever new location they are. So 3 was Australia, 4 was the UK, and now 5 is Mexico. And it's always, there's a festival going on, and they're trying to make the festival, like, bigger. And so here's a bunch of, like, weird, not racing, but car driving objectives to do to help us make the whole festival bigger. And then here's also some people that, like, they just need a driver to, like, help them do non-criminal things, because this isn't fucking Grand Theft Auto.
Which, like, I'm fine with, like, the people asking you to, like, do this thing or that thing, but, like, I did one yesterday. One of the last couple of sets of things I did yesterday was, you had to help a woman find her grandfather's old VW buggy.
Oh, I did that one. That's great. Yeah, you it's super easy. You drive up to the mountain, and then you get in a big fucking, like, 18-wheeler with the car strapped on the back and drive it back down the mountain.
Yeah, I didn't need the flatbed portion. I didn't need the jump the flatbed portion. Like,
you always need to jump a flatbed. Come on now.
It would have just been fine. It's like, hey, you found it. Maybe if we drive this old beat up car back instead. Like, they were able to get it to run, and you drive it back instead of driving the flatbed. Like, all the additional stuff after of, like, learning about the car and like the history of Volkswagens in Mexico and stuff like that. That was, like, interesting to learn, but there was just, like, that little intermission of just driving the flatbed. I was just like, I don't need this. I want to race cars. I want to drive cars fast. I don't need a flatbed.
Yeah, no, see, like, that is, I don't like the race. Like, I don't dislike them, but I find the races boring. Like, I'm not very, like, I've never played a lot of racing games to begin with, so, like, I'm not great at them in general.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, driving a track against a bunch of other cars, like, I don't do great in it. So, like, I rewind a lot to, like, try different things to see if I can, like, get better at, like, slowing down at the right time and not just fucking spinning out when I try to, like, round a corner.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the stuff where it's just like, oh yeah, no, you just have to get from point A to point B as quickly as you can, and it doesn't give a fuck how you do it. I'm all about those. Those are great, because they give you, like, random-ass cars to do it with. Like, did you do, there's one where you have to help a guy. It's 3 different missions where you help him. And each one of them is a time trial, basically. Like, you have to get from, like, point A to point B, within, like, 3 minutes. And the faster you do it, the higher, like, stars you get. The second one is you just have to do a bunch of skill things in the car to get points. And you have to do at least, I think, 10,000 points is to get 1 star. And then it goes up from there to get 3 stars. And it's literally just, like, just run into things. Because every time you hit stuff, you get points for it. Yeah. And, like, do drifts and stupid shit like that, and you'll just rack up points.
I haven't done those missions. You don't even need to tell me what the third one is, because I haven't done the first 2.
Right. Well, let me just tell you. So if you get to these, they're I want to say it's Baja. It's the, you know how, like, there's, like, the 4 or 5 different, like, main locations that have, like, the tasks.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one on, like, the far right.
Yeah, the Baja where it's in the big desert. I actually just opened to go there.
Okay.
So I have to, like, do the initial things to even go there. Once I got to the point where it was like, do you want to, like, it asked me what I want to unlock, and there was street racing, so I was like, fuck it, I'm doing street racing, because street racing is always fun. And so I went and unlocked the street race circuit, and then it was like, at another point it was like, what do you want to unlock next? And I was like, you know what, we'll go do the Baja, because Baja is ridiculous. I don't know if you know, the Baja is a legitimate race. It's across the deserts of Mexico. It takes, like, 17 fucking days or something like that to do. Or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
But so, when you do get to that mission, the third one, it's called Coast to Coast. You get given the fastest fucking car that you'll have had at that point in the game. I was almost at 300 miles an hour for most of it. And the guy literally at the very beginning just goes, yeah, we're just gonna get on the highway so you can just fucking go. But that particular mission has a side objective that you have to do, where you have to get traffic telemetry. So you need to get at least 8 near misses where like you just have to drive close to another car as you're passing them.
Yeah.
Because their servers are kind of fucked at the moment, it didn't work for me like 4 different times. I had to keep reloading the game basically until it loaded me offline, because just changing to offline wouldn't do it. I had to set myself to offline and then restart the game. And eventually it came up and there were other cars on the road. But for whatever reason, like because the game defaults to online and because their servers are a little fucked at it's launch, like it happens. Like it's not like they did something egregious. But you literally can't complete the mission until there are other cars on the road.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a very cool mission just because it's one of those. It is a race because you do have a time limit and you have to get these 8 at least 8 near misses, and it goes up. Like I think it goes from 8 to like 20, and 20 is 2 stars.
Yeah.
But the car you get is just so fucking fast. And it's just it's like a 90% straight shot. Like there's a few very gentle curves and like zigzags, but like you never have to slow down. You never have to like take a hard turn or anything like that. So you just get this car up to like 300 miles an hour, and it feels like you're going 300 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a cool fucking like thing. Speaking of just like fast, like have you gotten any like cool cars?
Not quite. I'm not getting very lucky with my my spins. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I think I've only gotten like 2 cars from the spins for the most part. I generally get just credits. I've gone through the shop, but I haven't really bought anything for it yet. And I haven't really gotten anything new. Just basically what they've given me, which is like the starter Corvette or Porsche or whatever it was, and I did get one sec, I gotta look it up real quick, because I can't remember the year or anything.
While you're looking it up, I got a couple pulls that they're kind of shitty. They're all like C and D cars. I did just get an A that's like a 1953 like Ford something. That's just it's cool because it's like an old ass car. But I got what's it called? Like a reward. One of the times I restarted the game and I went back into the menu, I had like a message of like, "Hey, here's like a reward for playing." And they gave me a 2020 McLaren that was like an S+ rank. So it is now the fastest car I have. And it is incredibly fast, but it's garbage on anything but street. Like I found, at one point I was doing something and I found you. It was actually before I went to do that mission for the Volkswagen.
Yeah.
I happened to run into you, so I challenged your Drivatar to a race.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just destroying you because this car was so fast. And then all of a sudden it was like, make a left turn here onto this dirt road. And I get onto the dirt road and the car just fucking spins.
Yeah, I haven't challenged any Drivatars, but I've got a bunch of friends on Xbox Live. Most that I know or remember. It's been so long since I played an Xbox game that like there are a handful that I do remember who they are, but a bunch of that are like that I've played games in the past and we were cool back then. But then there's a bunch that I'm just like, I don't know who these people are anymore. And I did see you quite a few times. I haven't challenged anyone. But the car I got, and we'll see if you recognize any of this. 1999 Nissan Skyline.
Oh, it's Paul Walker's car from Fast and Furious.
Yes, I got Paul Walker's Nissan Skyline.
Nice.
I was so happy. I think even on stream, I was just like, I got Paul Walker's car. This is great. As far as I can remember, it was a 99. It might have been a 94, but I think it was a 99 Nissan Skyline.
I think his was like a 94.
I just looked it up, and it said that his was a 99. But it might have been a 94. Either way, I believe it was supposed to be Paul Walker's car. I believe it was supposed to be Brian's car. He has, I looked it up, and according to Screen Rant, every car he's ever driven was a 94 Toyota Supra, a 99 Skyline, a 2009 Subaru Impreza. That's just on the...
okay.
2010 Charger, 2012 Impreza, but, like, yeah, he's most famous for his 99 Skyline.
Yeah, because at the beginning of Fast and Furious 2, that's his car that he's driving. Yeah. And I know that one was a Skyline.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten anything cool like that. Though I do like that you can, have you gone in and done, like, the garage stuff? Also, Drew's here. Hey, Drew.
Hey, hi.
Hey,
hello.
I did a little bit. I don't know if you saw it. But I have Ultra Instinct Goku on my car.
I did not see that. It's not on your Drivatar.
Yeah, so it's one of my Corvettes that I have. I have an Ultra Instinct Goku on it. It's the more racing looking one of the ones that you get from the base start of the game. That I was just like, oh, this is cool. Because you had said you had Tanjiro, so I was like, I need to see what's on here. And, like, I just saw pre-made ones, and I grabbed the Goku.
Yeah, so Tanjiro and a bunch of other, like, goofy ones were just my presets. Today I was looking at it, and I realized there was a search button. So I hit search, and I searched, and I found a bunch more, and I just went through and favorited all of them. At some point I'm going to go through probably and, like, apply them. Because, like, I'm having enough fun with this game that I do actually want to play more of it, so I will probably play more of it.
Yeah. But yeah, I did you try the Battle Royale mode?
I have not done any of the, like, arcade stuff.
The only one I saw, like, it was on the map. It's a Battle Royale, and I'm like, I have to see what this is. I have to try it out. And, what it is they plop you onto a portion of the map, and, they give you, if you check your map, it tells you what direction to drive so that you can get into the circle before it closes in on you. And, I don't know what happens if you're outside the circle. I don't know how long you have, or if you're just dead, like, if it's game over if you're outside the circle, or what. But you're all given the same starter car. You're all given, like, this little VW bug. And, you race. You get to the center of the circle, or you get into the circle, and then you drive around, you find other racers, and you honk and challenge them. And if they accept your challenge, it sets a destination, and the two of you have to get there. Whoever gets there first wins. The other one's eliminated. If you win and they had a different car than you can take their car, or it'll let you upgrade your car to the next level up. So the VW Bug is a level 1. It'll let you upgrade to a level 2 car, which is a little bit faster and better than the Bug, and so on and so forth. It's silly. I don't know how often I'm going to try it, but it is silly.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to give it a shot just to see kind of like what it's like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Drew, just to give you a quick idea, we figured out that Rich likes the actual racing, doesn't care for all of like the goofy story stuff. I think the racing is fucking boring, and I just want to go do the goofy story stuff. Like, I want to go help the random mechanic lady find her great-grandpa's old VW Bug in a random cabin on a mountain, and then drive a flatbed truck back to her garage. Rich just wants to drive in fucking circles.
No, I don't want to drive in circles, but I want to drive I'm playing a racing game. I want to race. I want to drive fast cars. I don't want to drive a fucking flatbed truck with a VW Bug on it and be forced to jump the truck, which is physically impossible in the real world. And that truck would have just bottomed out once you hit the ground. There's no way shocks are powerful enough for that truck that it would have been able to keep driving.
Yeah, you should definitely, if they're on Game Pass for PC, once you've kind of like had your fill of this one, you should download 3 and 4 and check those out, because they are similar, but also like the settings are different, and
yeah,
you might have fun driving around Australia and the UK.
Yeah,
and I feel like the UK one may have had motorcycles.
I'm hoping there's motorcycles. I don't think there are, but there should be motorcycles, because even in the intro, they had motorcycles racing against you. Which that's kind of a bone I need to pick. I don't know if I'm just an idiot or if it's like really hard to find it, but I could not find a way to start a new game. And so I started playing during work just to make sure everything was working, because I was being told that like things aren't working right, you're going to have to update drivers, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. So, like, I worked all that out to make sure it would all work, and even Eric kept saying that he's kept crashing at a certain point during that intro portion. So, like, I wanted to make sure that I'd be able to get through that before stream. So I got through it, and I'm like, alright, I'm done. But it actually doesn't let you exit out of the game until you're, like, you have your character created and everything. Like, I'm in the middle of work, and I'm trying to watch Batwoman. I just want to get out of here. I can't it won't let me just leave. It won't let me, like, exit out here unless I probably F4'd the game or whatever.
Which
So,
is
like,
probably what you should have done so that it didn't save.
Yeah, it's probably what I should have done. So I get to the point, it has me select, like, how to make my character. I just press A and just get it over with. I don't even think about it. And then I go to load up, and I cannot find a way to do start a new game.
So I think on the Xbox there was a new game tab, but why did you want to start a new game?
Because I wanted to show the stream how the game opens. Mostly.
Oh, okay. No,
Plus, like, I didn't pay any focus to that intro because I was just loading it up to make sure it worked.
Yeah, so
and,
you probably have to delete your save if there's not just a new game button on PC.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Which means I have to, like, go into the system files and delete my save.
Yeah, it's super easy.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, I'm 4 hours in. I'm not going to bother doing that. It's not that big a deal. Like I said, I don't really care about the story stuff with this. It's a racing game. Before you jumped in, I had said that the best racing game ever is Burnout Paradise, and honestly, that's what I look for in a racing game, especially one like that. Well, not in a racing game, but in a street racing game similar to Burnout. Like if we're talking Gran Turismo, I'm looking for Gran Turismo or Forza Motorsports. But when it comes to a street racing game, I'm looking for Burnout Paradise and not story. And so I don't really care to, like, relearn what they talked about at the beginning that I missed or whatever. I
mean, the beginning wasn't necessarily story as much as just, like, getting you... Literally, the beginning of these games is always, here's you jumping into the different vehicles you're generally going... The different types of vehicles you're generally going to drive in the game. Yeah. So that you can get an idea of, like, here's what it's going to feel like when you're driving, like, a fast car on a street. And here's, like, an SUV off-roading and shit like that.
Yeah.
And they all do similar, like, intros to that, and they're always very fun intros.
Yeah, it was I like how at the beginning of it, they drop you onto, like, a volcano or whatever, and I was just like, that's really cool. That's stupid, but that's really cool.
Drew, you didn't get a chance to play, I take it, because you had other shit going on after work?
Yeah, no, I didn't get a chance to boot it up.
I'm curious what you'll think of it next week, I guess, if you have a chance to.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy Burnout Paradise, so, like, if it's anything like that, I'll at least enjoy driving around in that game.
Yeah, if you enjoy Burnout Paradise, you'll definitely enjoy this, minus there's no, like, crash simulator, which is fine.
Yeah.
The only other thing I also couldn't figure out is how to set up manual transmission.
It's in the settings.
Is it? I look. Is it in, like, the control settings, or is it in the...
It's either in control or gameplay. I forget exactly where, but because you can turn on manual transmission and you can turn on, you can change how damage to the car happens. So you can you can have it be cosmetic, which is the default. You can have it be simulation, where your tires wear down and damage to your car actually affects the performance. Or you can have it turned off entirely so that your car just always looks brand new no matter how much shit you put it through.
Yeah. I'll have to tweak with the settings a little bit more. Yeah, depending on if we get done here early enough or not, I might jump on for a little bit, for a short surprise stream to play for like an hour.
Yeah, it's a fun game, and at least it's one of those games where you can totally jump in for like just an hour just to kind of like drive around, maybe do a race or like a different event, and just explore the map, find straightaways to see just how fast you can make your cars.
My current goal is to just unlock everything on the map. I don't care to do everything right away. I just want to unlock everything and then go from there.
Yeah, and there is a ton to unlock. As you do more events, you get the ability to unlock more things.
Yeah.
Plus, there's just the whole like car upgrade system, where I so far I've only just gone in and done the auto upgrades because I don't know enough about cars to go in there and do like the manual. Like, okay, well, I want to make the engine better, but I want to do this to the tire. Like, fuck that. I'm just going to go in and let the game tell me what the best way to make my car go faster is.
Yeah.
Because
have you had the game tell you that you're above average yet?
I don't know.
The game told me it was like, you're winning too easily. Do you want to increase the difficulty and you'll get 20% more experience?
Oh, yeah. Forza games always do that.
I was like, sure. And it's like, great. You're now above average. I'm like, yes, I'm above average.
Yeah, so it's basically instead of having an auto scaling AI, it gives you the ability to sort of like tweak the AI as you're playing. I haven't done enough actual races, I think, to have had that happen. I've only done 2 races, like where like there were other cars that I was going against. No, 3, because I did very bad in the first one because I just did not have the hang of like cornering at all, even a little bit, and then the other 2 I podiumed.
Yeah, let me tell you, there's some cars that have 0 grip in that game.
Oh yeah, and it's just trying to figure out, like, as somebody who does. Like, I don't really know much about racing. I don't like driving my car to begin with, let alone, like, driving it for, like, a race. So I don't really know, like, how should I brake to take a hard turn without also just losing all forward momentum and just getting passed by everybody. But also, like, I tend to just turn too hard and just spin out and get overtaken anyway.
So I will give you a couple little hints. I'm sure first hint, and I'm sure you've noticed it, but you do know that it tells you how hard or how much you need to brake if you're following the HUD, right?
Yeah, no, so I get that. My problem is, like, that comes up, and I'm like, oh, it's red, let me start slowing down. And I'm going so fast that when I start to brake, the car just starts to spin out.
Well, the next tip is don't hit the brake, feather the brake.
Okay, so I was trying that. I feel like I'm not... The brakes, at least in the fast cars, seem very... Touchy's the wrong word. It's like, if you don't pull the trigger in all the way, it doesn't seem to do anything.
If you're pulling the trigger in all the way, that's why you're spinning it.
So if I'm just tapping the trigger, my brake lights aren't even going on. I'm not slowing down at all. Like, I slow down more by just letting off the accelerator entirely.
Well, I mean, you should be doing that, too. You should be letting off the accelerator to brake. But, I mean, I feather. I don't click all the way in. Like, you have to click it in quite a bit, but not all the way. Do not put it all the way in. That's gonna lock up your brakes. But also, and I found this out just randomly, A is your e-brake.
Oh, yeah, no, I knew that.
So, I didn't know that. And yeah, even when you're trying to accelerate or trying to just come out of a brake, don't floor the pedal. You gotta feather the pedal as well.
Oh, yeah, and, like, I've gotten much better. Like, I can take and except when they're the super hard turns where, like, you're basically coming back the other direction, I've gotten much better to the point where, like, I generally stay on the road the whole time. I may be slowing down a little bit more than I need to, but it's easier to do that and just gain the speed back up than to just completely miss it, skid into the dirt, have no traction, and have to try and, like, get shit back together. Because, like, as soon as you start to spin out, if you're going fast enough, like, it's done. Because I've just been trying to get better at, like, drifting into things, and these cars, like you said, like, they have such little grip that sometimes, like, if you just do it slightly faster than you mean to, you just completely spin out, and there's no stopping it. You just have to wait till you come to a complete stop.
Yeah, it comes second nature to me, but I've been a racing game fan for forever. I've always played racing games. I've always enjoyed them. So I'm sure someone who doesn't actually find interest in racing games, it is a little bit of a pain. So I get it.
Yeah, and it's like I played like arcade racing games back in the day, and like Mario Kart, and like I played Burnout, but I always played like Crash Mode Burnout, where like you weren't racing, you were just driving really fast and then trying to cause as much destruction as possible. And I've only ever really dipped in and out of the Forza games, or the Forza Horizon games, because they are very pretty and they're fun to at least like check out. But I never like played them enough to really get into the racing aspect of them.
Yeah.
But like I'm trying to get better at it just to kind of get more into this one because it is really cool and I am enjoying it.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. It is a really fun game, Drew, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it, especially since your newfound enjoyment of racing.
I mean, I've been watching racing a long time. I went a little gap there not watching any NASCAR. I watched a ton of NASCAR growing up.
Nerd.
You're not wrong.
But hey, I mean, in Forza, there are a bunch of cars that have names similar to the cars I remember from Drive to Survive. Just throwing that out there. I've seen Ferrari. I've seen McLaren.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I've seen a McLaren. So.
Well, just before you got on, I have the game gifted me a McLaren. It's the fastest car I have. It's like an S+ rank. It very quickly gets up over 200 miles an hour. It's very fun. It has absolute shit control if you're on anything but the nicest blacktop. Like I was telling Rich, so in the Forza games, if you've never played them, there's other cars on the road, and they're usually like drivatars for other players if you're not online. I saw Rich while I was driving towards something, so I challenged his drivatar to a race. And it was going really great because he was just in like the base car, and I was in this super fast one, so I was just destroying him. And then the game's just like, turn left here, and it's onto a dirt road. And like I turned on a dirt road, and the car just basically started spinning in a circle. Like, it had no traction. I couldn't go over like 20 miles an hour. All you hear is the engine going as it's trying to like figure out what to do. As soon as I got back on the blacktop, it was just like it was like sliding across ice. But do you guys want to talk about the book club?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Sure.
So this week, I had reminded people, and we had mentioned it a few times. It was 2 movies based on the same script. One was a Korean film known as called Alive or #Alive. It was on Netflix, and the other one was an American film, I believe, known as Alone, and that was on Amazon Prime Video that we watched them on. And those were, honestly, I'll throw it out there right now. This is my first time watching both of them, and even though they were based on the same script, 2 different movies thematically.
Yeah, definitely.
Which, like, it was a little bit more of a shock to me that, like #Alive was adapted more as a horror film, and Alone was more of a love story. And like, that to me, I was just like they had all the same, like, pretty much a lot of the situations were all the same between the 2, but they delivered them in 2 separate, different directions with 2 different endings to them as well. It was nice and refreshing. I personally prefer #Alive more than Alone.
Yeah, no, out of the 2, I liked Alive better also. Because Alone basically felt like it was the same story, but they made it more American by kind of forcing just a weird love story into it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the character, it's literally got the same characters, basically. Like, they're different. They have different personalities, but both movies are a guy alone in an apartment. He finds a woman that lives in like the building across like the courtyard from him, and then there's an older gentleman who ends up being malicious. And it's just in the Korean one, it was just they formed a bond, but it wasn't a romantic bond.
Yeah. It became a story of survival and a story of how do these 2 people get to each other to increase their odds to survive and to continue to live.
Yeah, and it was like they were both capable in slightly different ways. Like, the girl in Alive was definitely more capable than the guy, but in Alone, they basically turned it into like a hero complex thing. Like, literally, as soon as he sees there's a girl, he's like, "Oh, I need to help her. Like, she probably doesn't have what she needs." And it's like, you don't know that.
And
like,
that's the problem. Is like she didn't have what she needed. Like, they fell into that hole of like the damsel in distress. Like, you see it a lot in American media. Like, she needed help, 100%. And I thought that was lame.
Yeah. Now, Drew, since you only actually watched Alive, what did you think of Alive?
I thought it was incredibly tropey and boring. It sounds like Alone is even worse when it comes to.
What do you mean tropey and boring? Like, expand on that.
It felt like every zombie or piece of media in the last 30 years. And my biggest complaint is the fact that it's one character, basically. You know he's not going to die. There is no tension.
I mean, you don't know that, though. Like,
you fucking so do, though.
Yeah,
they do a good job at jump scaring you into thinking he might die, but you know he's not.
Like, there's definitely a better chance, like, watching that the girl dies, but especially because she is more, like, she seems to have her shit together more than he does, so it's like, him surviving and her not surviving seems more likely in the long run.
Yeah, like, I thought she might have died when they got to the weird guy's house and she got stuck in the room, the zombie wife, but that was maybe the one time it felt like either of those 2 characters really got close to dying.
Yeah, I think if you would have watched Alone, you probably would have actually come out of it liking Alive more and, like, kind of forgiving because it did have a lot of like the tropes you're used to in like zombie movies.
Mhm.
But like I feel like you would have probably come out of it been like, oh, Alive actually wasn't bad, because that's kind of like where I'm at after watching Alone. It's like Alone hit, and Rich, I don't know if you'll agree with it, but Alone seemed to hit like all of the problems with zombie movies, like, and also all of the problems with just most American movies in general. Whereas like Alive seemed to, while it had the tropes, it seemed to at least try to work around them and make it less about the zombies and more about like them just trying to survive and sort of the mental struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and that's like, I'm a zombie movie fan. You guys know this. So like, when you complain about the tropes, I'm like, well, I mean, I don't complain about the tropes.
Sure.
I didn't see either of these movies as too overly tropey. Honestly, when it came to the zombies, Alone was a lot more interesting zombie-wise.
Huh.
Because, and as I can't remember if they tackled this in Alive, but in Alone, they weren't fully dead. They were more similar to like 28 Days Later zombies, where like they were infected with a disease, they were rage-filled, it spreads with blood, but in Alone, they just didn't have control of their bodies, but their minds stayed the same. So, and Cobb, you probably noticed this, like, a lot of them were asking for help, kill me, why, like, they repeat the same, like, cycle of words, because they don't want to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah, it seemed to depend on how far along they were, because the ones that were just, like, out on the street and that were, like, actually, like, the rage ones were definitely much more, like kill, death, destroy, but, like, the ones that were either injured or restrained or just not all the way there, those were the ones that always seemed to be, like, kill me, like, help me, like, I don't want to live.
I think that was supposed to play more into the psyche of men in a way of, well, these people, they're more rage-filled and kill everything zombies because that's the kind of person they were in real life. They didn't care.
Sorry, real quick. This was in Alone you're talking?
Yeah, this is in Alone. So it's like some of the zombies that like were trying to just hunt and kill were the people in real life who just or before being turned.
Okay.
Were bad people, or not necessarily bad people, but like people that like didn't have that
had a mean streak or whatever.
Yeah, and so they were like, it's survival. That was what they wanted, and so they wanted to eat. So that's what I took from like some of the zombies not wanting to die, but for the most part, anytime they were out with the zombies in Alone, you heard a lot of the zombies, not just the ones that were injured or barely moving, saying something like, help me, kill me, I want, like, die, death, stuff like that, which was really cool. It was a different take on zombies.
Yeah, and there is none of that in Alive. Like,
so
they're
to get
just rage zombies. And their whole thing is, like, given as a one-off in the news broadcast.
Yeah, and so to give you, and some of that may have also just been, like, the language barrier, but to give you, like, an example of like, the difference in some of the zombies, in Alive, when they were sending stuff back and forth, there was that zombie that found the rope on the ground, and then just started slowly climbing that thin, like, wire rope.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of menacing and suspenseful as it was just slowly climbing up the thing. The other, in Alone, it was like a zombie in a business suit doing parkour. Like, the fucking thing was just running up the building, basically. And it was more exciting because it was happening so fast, and it was again, like, the woman in Alone was just less useful than the one in, like, everything kind of came down to the guy in the American one, which just sucked because I had already watched Alive where, like, the girl was more prone to being useful than the guy was. Like, she had her shit together, and he was just kind of, like, always in a panic.
Alone turned way too far into a codependent relationship way too fast.
And, like, they do make a joke about that, like, at one point near the end, but
I think in Alive it was about 45 minutes in before he meets the girl. I can't remember. But Alone was a half hour in, and then the next 45 minutes was them building a relationship.
Yeah, and, like all the stuff kind of played out similarly. except from the opposite side. So in Alive, it was the girl that actually had supplies and had a plan for getting shit over to him. In this one, it was the guy who like runs around his apartment and like figures stuff out and and all that.
And it was like even them the difference between the two characters and why they didn't hang themselves. Like in both movies, they were going to hang themselves. They had lost all hope. And in Alive, it was the girl. She sees him and makes him know that she's there, and he's like, "Oh my god." Whereas in Alone, he's hanging there and sees this girl out the window, and is like, "I have to save her now. This is not about, I have to save this random person I've never met before who's very pretty. And she most likely has to be saved because American media has to have a damsel in distress."
Yeah,
and
it was.
It was awkward. It was totally awkward.
And it definitely ran into this thing where in Alive, there wasn't really any like sexual tension between the two. In fact, like the girl is definitely much more like, "Don't touch me," like when like the guy like hugs her because he's just super excited that there's like a person at the end there. Whereas in Alone, she's just immediately codependent on him.
Yeah.
Like she literally yells at him for going like radio silent for a few minutes. And there was something else that happened. Oh, so the actual hanging scene. So in Alive, the guy actually hangs himself.
Yeah.
And then the girl shines the laser pointer and gets his attention, and he basically like panics and like manages to just struggle enough that the thing actually falls down. In Alone, he doesn't actually even get that far. He is standing on the chair with the thing around his neck and happens to see the girl, and then it's a very comedic, as comedic as something like that can be, where he leans over, sees the girl, loses his balance, falls, hangs for like 2 seconds, and then the whole thing comes undone because what he tied himself to wasn't even strong enough to hold him, or the knot wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And like he didn't even actually interact with the girl at that point. He had just seen her across the alleyway.
Yeah.
Whereas in Alive, it's like, okay, how long has she known he was there at that point then? Like, she was obviously watching, and like, she chose that moment to like...
I mean, honestly, I probably would have done the same if I were stuck in a situation like that and saw someone across the way. Like, first and foremost is me. Am I fed? Am I good? And like, it's not gonna be until I see that person is in mental distress that I'm gonna be like, "Hey, you're not alone here."
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I agree with you there. It was just more of a, like, she had obviously been watching. Because there is no way she just happened to watch at that second that he started to hang himself.
Yeah.
Like, the dynamics were just way different and definitely better done in Alive.
And it's just, I thought it was so dumb how they only did the passing of stuff once. And then he risks his life to climb down to throw the walkie-talkie up there and then climb back up instead of just sending it across on another line. Like, it didn't make sense why he had to do that.
It was just a reason. It both added a little bit of excitement and suspense to it and showed him being, like, the hero. And, like, don't get me wrong, like, the guy was likable for the most part. But there was even a, like... I forget how many days in it was by the time they met, but like it was, you know, several, like couple weeks in. He had like
it was 46 days.
Okay, was it that long? So like
in Alone at least, yeah.
So like his hair was overgrown. He had like a big beard, and as soon as he sees the girl and realizes he has like this like scruffy beard, he goes, and because they have no power or water, he's trying to just like cut it with like a knife, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then like literally that night it like rains, so there's like this like 3-minute scene of him standing on his balcony, showering like in the rain and then shaving, and it's like, really, like
like that's the most important thing right now is to like I get the shower. I 100% am down for, you know what, it's raining, get a shower, but like shaving your beard is not that important, right?
No.
You didn't have to focus on that.
And he did, for at least, like, the first thing he did was actually to put pots and pans out to get more water. So, like...
Yeah, he put stuff out to gather more water and everything. It's just, I felt Alive was a lot better than Alone. But like some of the concepts, especially for the zombies in Alone, were very, very different and a little bit more nuanced. That intrigued me. Like when they turn in Alone, it wasn't like that shocking like transformation that you see in Alive with when his neighbor turns. It was like a gradual loss of bodily functions, and him going like, don't let this happen, I believe is what he was saying, or like, don't, let me stay, or I'm not sick, or something like that. As he knew he was getting sick and losing control, he also knew to leave the apartment before he lost full control, which was like a very different concept when at least between the two.
Yeah, and I will say, I feel like if you... So, I think Alive was the better of the two movies, but like Drew said, it was very tropey as far as the zombie stuff went. Like, it was very easy to just guess what was going to happen if you've ever seen anything zombie before. And I think I said it in the group chat last week when I watched Alive, or earlier this week. I don't even remember how long ago it was. I realized while watching Alive, I don't like zombie movies. Like, I've gotten to the point where, like, I don't really like zombie media. Mm-hmm. I don't hate it. Like, I have no problem watching it. It's just, like, I get nothing from it anymore. Like, I think The Walking Dead just ran that shit into the ground so much that I just find that whole zombie idea just boring at this point.
Yeah.
But everything they did around the zombies, I think, was just more interesting and better done with, like, the characters in Alive. Whereas I think Alone actually had the more interesting zombies because, like you said, Rich, it's almost like they're aware of what's going on and they just can't control it. Yeah. But they're also that more rage zombie, so they're not just the, like, slowly walking to the point where, like, they just all build up in front of something until that something falls down. And, like, we see in Alive that they do have at least enough intelligence to climb and do that sort of thing still, but they're still not... They're not like the rage zombies in 28 Days Later, like they are, or in Alone in this case. So I think if you were to somehow put these two movies together, I think you'd actually have a really interesting zombie movie.
Yeah. And it's one thing that, like, I didn't like that they did, but they kind of explained it throughout. It was, like, the zombies, again, they're habit forming the longer they go, especially without food. And the biggest problem with the girl in Alone was that the zombies were scratching at her wall, which, like, doesn't make sense at all why they were scratching at her wall. If she's being silent like she says she's being and she's not making noise, there's no reason why they ever would have attacked her wall or tried to go through. But it was just they were like, we need to make an issue for her to have to be saved. And it's like, all right, well, maybe don't make weak women.
No, exactly. Like,
yeah.
They ruined that character from the Korean version of it.
Yeah.
And then...
Well, I mean, correction. The Korean version made that character better, because this is based on the script. The Korean version, Alive, is based on the script Alone, which is also based on the script Alone, which I believe was an American written script. So they adapted that character better in the Korean version than they probably did in the American version.
So I looked a little bit into it. So the guy who wrote both versions, or like he co-developed Alive with the Korean director.
Mm-hmm.
So like the same person was involved in both. It just seems like the filmmakers just kind of also went in different directions with both of them, but kept the core theme of it the same.
Yeah.
So the only character we haven't really talked about though is like the old man that shows up at the end. That's basically the antagonist. Yeah. Even if and I fully believe this, if I hadn't seen Alive already, I still think I would have immediately assumed Donald Sutherland was evil, because he just seemed like there was something off with him.
Yeah, he was really good. He was really good in this movie. He's always good.
Yeah, I really like Donald Sutherland.
But yeah, I immediately would have known, like, oh, he's bad. He's a bad guy. And, like, throughout portions of the movie, I thought they were going to, like, change it up. And so I was like, oh, maybe Donald Sutherland is going to be, like, a different kind of a character. But then after they get an hour and 10 minutes into it without introducing him, it was like, oh no, he's the old man. He's the old man trying to save his wife.
Yeah, and I feel like the old man in Alive, even if so just based on body language alone, just seemed more innocent.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly did not expect that to go in the direction it did until the moment where the girl asked about having children.
Yeah.
And then that happened, and I'm like, oh, this is going to get dark now. But in Alone, it's just like, oh no, like, even if I hadn't already suspected it because of Alive, like, there is something off with the way Donald Sutherland is acting. He is going to do something shady as shit at some point. And I think it hurt it by not having both of them the way they did in Alive. Like, the girl, and like, frankly, like, that girl in Alive fucking just jumping off of her balcony with the fucking rope and running down the side of the building and then like running across and getting up, like, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, she was badass. That was a great character.
And the guy's just like, who the fuck is she?
Yeah. And honestly, the guy in Alive, like, the male lead was a good character. I liked how he was he was likable. He was likable, and he was a different kind of lead. You don't often see the lead of someone who, like, is scared and doesn't know what to do. Whereas in Alone, it's like this lead, he's scared, but it seems like he's more capable.
Yeah.
And so it does make for a weaker movie when you have that lead who's more capable walking around with, I think he had a baseball bat most of the movie, whereas in Alive, he has a fucking golf club, which golf club ain't doing much in a zombie apocalypse.
I don't know,
man. That thing would have broke the first time he hit a zombie.
Exactly.
Golf clubs are not fucking sturdy instruments.
No, like, I can go to the golf course with an iron, hit a tree, and wrap that iron around the tree. It'll still be intact and wrapped around a tree. Like, it's so flexible and bendy, it's not gonna do anything.
I've seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990. Casey Jones fucking sends, what's-his-face, like, 10 feet in the air with a 9-iron.
Does the 9-iron break afterwards?
No. He literally...
That's not realistic.
He literally... He hits the guy in the stomach with the back of the golf club, like the handle of it, and he doubles over, then he gets up, goes 4, swings, hits the guy in the face with it, sends him 10 feet in the air, crashing into a bunch of boxes, and then he kind of, like, lets the golf club slide down into his hand, kisses the actual, like, head ball part of the golf club, and says, "I'll never call golf a dull game again."
Yeah, that's... Look, it's just... A golf club ain't gonna do that. Not in real life. Not in real life.
Well, these movies aren't real life either, so that golf club he was using is totally fine. He has seen Ninja Turtles also.
They're more of a simulation than real life. than Turtles. Which, speaking of that, reminds me of something I want to talk about real quick with Batwoman. We'll get to that after book club. But, yeah, I enjoyed both of these. I had a good time watching them. I liked comparing the two. And yeah, the final old man was such a menacing character that I liked him. I liked him more in Alone than I did in Alive, but
I think as a villain and just knowing he was the villain, yes. But I think as a character, I liked... Oh, wait, no, you said you liked him better in Alive, didn't you?
No, I liked him better in Alone than in Alive.
Okay, I'm sorry. I preferred him in Alive because it was more unexpected. Like, that guy did not seem like he was going to turn on them and do what he did. Whereas, like, Donald Sutherland just has that air about him in this movie. Like, even though he was trying to be nice, he was coming off like the wrong kind of nice.
I think the reason, like, and it's more of like I sympathize more with Donald Sutherland's character than I do with the old man in Alive because the difference in the kind of zombies. Like, in Alive, they were undead. They were Walking Dead zombies. In this one, I think they said they were dead, but they weren't dead. I can't remember in Alone, but they still had their personality within them, and it's like, that is a legitimate, there could be a cure. I'm not saying I would ever kidnap people and feed them to my zombified partner, but I sympathize more, which is why I like the character a little bit more in Alone than I do in Alive, just because of how the direction they went with the zombies.
Yeah, because like that was a complaint I had about Alive. It's like, well, what the fuck is the guy gonna do with the zombie wife? Like, the fuck? You have all this food and the zombie wife. Like, she's fucking dead. What are you doing?
And that's where you get into, like, this is where I can see, like, that trope is getting overdone, because that is in every fucking zombie film. If there is an antagonist, they're an antagonist because they have a turned spouse, child, whatever.
Yeah.
That they want to keep alive, and until there's a cure or whatever. That is the one trope that I hate. One of the reasons why I love Train to Busan, because there was none of that in that movie. It was all of them on a fucking train dealing with the zombies, and that's a really good movie. But this, like, when it comes to them, like a survival story over a period of time, you always see at least one person's like, I need to save my little girl who's already dead, type of stuff.
Unfortunately, that is, like, such a super common trope.
Yeah.
Just to sort of wrap it up, I also think Alive had the better ending because it had an actual ending.
Yeah. Like, I would have been fine with any outcome from that ending. Like, if like, the helicopter didn't come out or whatever, like, I would have been fine if they died at the very end.
Yeah.
Because that's an ending. But in Alone, it's just, they got away from the old man, done.
Yeah, it ends with them embracing while sitting in front of the refrigerator that they blocked the door with. Like, in his apartment, basically going like, we'll get through this. It's like, cool, but how? Because at least
they were setting up for a loner.
A loner.
So in Alive, you at least had, like, they even showed at the end how that helicopter knew to come, because the dude posted on social media before everything went down. Like, he literally posted like the sign of him, like, I'm here, I'm alive, like, here's where I'm at.
No, the helicopter had flew by. It knew it came back because I believe they fired a gun.
Oh, no.
They heard
it. The helicopters were looking for survivors because of social media. They said it at the end.
Well, those posts were going up as they were being rescued, because they said they started to turn the grid back on and the Wi-Fi back on. So that post, his post of Alive, was not posted until after he was rescued.
Oh, I misunderstood that. I thought they were literally saying that they were finding people based on social media posts.
They were, after, like, at that point, like, all of the posts started to go back online. So, like, he had posted it and tried to post it weeks prior, but it just didn't go through until then.
But we don't know that his post didn't get seen before the helicopters came.
Yeah, we don't know, like the way I
Tom's
took it.
point is still valid, that he made that post. It might not have been seen until, like, that day, even though he had posted it on, like, day 12 or whatever. Now it's a month later, but, like, he still had made that post.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like he made that post that day at any point.
No, he made it weeks prior and tried to post it, and I guess it didn't go through, or it did go through, but the internet wasn't taking it or something. I don't know how the internet works in Korea. But it like, at the time of their rescue was when the post started to become live and active, and, like, they were rolling out, resetting the grid and turning everything back on so they could find people who were still living, is the way I took it. So, not necessarily was it that, like, after he was rescued his post went, but not, like, it's a little ambiguous at that. So, like, we both could be right there.
Yeah, no, for sure. But also, just real quick, like, some of that is part of the tropes in that fucking thing. Like, why did his internet stop working when he still clearly had television service? Why did the cell phone service only work away from the building all of a sudden?
They were turning it on. Like, they had shut down the cell grid.
No.
Like,
at the very beginning?
They didn't shut it down at the very beginning, but it got, like, it must have gone down after, because he didn't try, like, sending a signal until after, a few days after, like a week or two after. And so, initially, the circuits were overloaded with people trying to make calls.
Right, that makes sense.
So no outbound or inbound phone calls were able to happen. But then probably with no one going and maintaining any of the towers or any of like the any of the cell phone stuff, the 5G towers that cause coronavirus or whatever, with no one maintaining those, maybe they, like, went down, and he needed to get a higher altitude to get a better signal.
That's not how that works.
When we had flip phones, I would have less signal sitting in my captain's chair in my living room, but if I lifted my arm, I would have perfect signal. It works. Literally, it works.
I mean, that's maybe how it worked 20 years ago.
Dude, I go to client places where I have no signal in one room. The room next door, I suddenly have full bars.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, there's definitely interference for in the building, outside the building, and within the walls and whatnot. But, like, the fact that they were making it a point that, like, oh, well, he flew his drone up 30 feet or whatever, and now it had a little bit of... Like, I mean, that's not how that works.
I mean, look, it like, is goofy, but also, like, there is something to be said about getting away from all of the potential interference, because you figure, like, cell towers are high, they're blanketing an area. A device that is above all of the other devices that are potentially trying to connect would get you a signal first, theoretically.
So I can plug in my wireless headphones into my computer, start listening to something, and walk into the kitchen and be fine. Be 15, 20, 30 feet away by the sliding glass door, from the front of my house to the back of my house. I don't know how far it is. Be fine. I step outside my house, and I lose signal entirely on that headset.
Because that's, I mean, like, not arguing some of it, that the logic of, oh, hey, he got outside and has signal. But, like, some of it's just, like, real dumb. Like, it made no sense. And then, like, it made sense that, like, once they bombed part of the city to wipe out a bunch of the zombies or whatever, that then all the power went out. Cool. All right, I can follow that. But, like, why did the water go out when the water went out? But he still had power and still had television. Y'all act like those things are not, like, one person being out. Oh, it all breaks. Like, that's not how that works. That's not how modern technology works.
But, like, if the entire water system is not being maintained for 2 weeks, it's gonna shut down after a while.
Yeah, because also
but also we don't know the electrical grid system. It could have been a coal power plant. It could have been solar power. Like, how is the power processed?
Well, he still had power until the city got bombed. Like, he had power for 3 weeks or whatever.
But so take into account two things. Odds are, like, the water supply stuff, not modern technology. Probably still running on very outdated systems, and also probably relies on electricity.
Yeah, but he lost water before he lost power.
No, I understand that, but like, that's what I mean. Like, it's all outdated technology. If people aren't there to actually keep up with it, shit's going to stop working. So there's a show on Hulu, based on a comic called Y the Last Man, where everybody in the world, that has a Y chromosome dies.
Right. So
originally it was just men, but then, science, the people realized that, like, there are actually, like, not even trans people, but, like, there are people that are female that were born with a Y chromosome. They just display none of the masculine traits.
Uh-huh.
So, like, those people also died, and any animals with a Y chromosome died. So, like, at least half of the population died. And New York City, like, 60 days in, actually collapsed. Like, not just like the economy collapsed, like the city collapsed because there were not enough people to actually uphold the infrastructure of the city. So, like, just everything fell apart.
Again, probably not how that would actually work, but sure.
I mean, like, with how outdated all of the systems in New York City are, like, probably not, maybe not that quickly, but would actually probably get that bad. Because, like city infrastructure, especially, like, city, doesn't get updated. Everything's still running the way it did in the 70s.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes they plug a new computer in, but most of the shit that runs this stuff is so old and archaic, they can't even put it on new systems. They literally have to rebuild it from the ground up, and they don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My other last tropey complaint, why the fuck did they not hang up the phone when they were leaving the voicemail for the son? You had time to yell, close the door, you couldn't, like, hang up the fucking... No, leave this voicemail making sure our son explicitly knows we were brutally eaten alive.
I mean, the only thing I could think there is, with everything going on, like, they might have just dropped the phone and just not even realized it was still connected, because you just...
But the voices did not change to sound like it was different.
You make it sound as if they had the phone next to their face and ear when they're screaming and running for their lives. Like, no, it's if something's going on and you're in the middle of a conversation and you're like, hey, this is going on, you're like, you take your phone down and you look and you respond to that. And like, yeah, I agree with Cobb at that point. Like, they probably didn't realize it was still on when they were running away, or...
But you heard them the whole time.
So
same.
That's
the problem.
Did you watch the dub or the sub for it?
The subbed.
Okay. So the dub also wasn't great. It was done better in Alone. Like, as that was happening, they sounded like hectic because of what was going on, because like the call literally starts with them like, we're safe, everything's fine, we're in the office. And then by the end, like, their voices are further away, like they've dropped the phone or have just like moved away from it and are definitely much more panicked and have just completely forgotten they were on the phone. So I think that might have just been like bad directing maybe for that particular voiceover.
But it also, it was just like, we need the tension so the son just breaks a bunch of shit. Like, make sure they explicitly know they died.
Yeah.
Also, the phone call could have been like, hey, we're safe, we're at the office, come, we'll see you after, hang up. Like, it could have been a 5-second, like...
I mean, it could be, but also, like, I forget how long it was in Alive, but in Alone it had been a few days at that point, maybe a week. So, like, they'd been trying to get a hold of him. Like, when he turned his phone back on, he had message after message, like text message.
Yeah, it was days, and it was like randomly he got signal and it connected. Here was all the messages and a voice that he then had to fly his drone up into the air to get signal to be able to hear.
Sometimes you get temporary signal. Sometimes things work and doesn't.
I'm pretty sure at the point that he got the signal was after like power had gone out. So, like,
I think when he got the signal and got the phone call was actually before was after he tried calling and bringing the drone up. I think that was before he tried bringing the drone.
No, he used the drone to connect to signal twice. He tried calling out once when he flew the drone up. It couldn't connect well enough or whatever. And then later, once he got like all the messages and whatnot, put his phone back on the drone to fly it up to try to hear the voice.
No, he only sent it up once. He sent it up and the battery on the drone died, and so it came back down.
He definitely used it twice. Well, 3 times.
He used. I only remember him using the drone once for the phone and once to send the rope across.
No, there was definitely another time in there.
He tried to use the drone the first time after he saw the person trying to use like the selfie stick out the window and then fucking fell to their death. And he was like, oh wait, I have a drone. Let me try it with the fucking drone. Couldn't get the call to go through. When he was trying to call out before he ever knew anything about how they were. Like, this is like day 3 or whatever. Okay. Then he gets the signal randomly and gets all the messages and notice he has a voicemail. For some reason, all the time he had power, it never charged his drone all the way or whatever. But then puts the phone back on the drone to be able to hear the voicemail and then has the freak out.
Yeah. But are you guys ready for what's next?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can.
Right. Drew, you already know, so we talked about it a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The next book club, we are going to go back and listen to some old episodes of the Giant Beastcast.
Yay!
So we're going to do every year the Beastcast did a single session role play. So we're going to listen to the 2016 episode, which was episode 84. And then we're going to listen to the 2017 two-parter, which was episode 136 and 138. Now, Rich, the only sort of like caveat for you is the first 3 years, I think it is, they mostly play the same characters. Mm-hmm. So in episode 84, these characters are all at least pseudo-established. They're given slightly different twists because it's it's a different rule set. Like they're not playing D&D. They're playing like a different role play system.
I believe they're playing Fiasco, if I remember correctly.
Fiasco was definitely one of them. I don't remember if that was the first one or the second one. But this first one, episode 84, it's a New Year's heist. The group has to steal the ball, the New Year's ball from Times Square.
Okay.
And it's just stupid and fun and goofy. The second one, that the two-parter, episode 136 and 138, takes place in an apocalyptic future with like mostly the same characters though. And I will just throw this out there. It involves sentient train snakes.
Isn't there a game about... Oh no, that's a train spider. Never mind.
And I will say, like, I don't listen to much like of like the real play stuff. Next to Matt Mercer, Austin Walker is probably the best DM I have heard. He's very charismatic. He knows what he's doing, and he is very quick to just kind of let the players do what works and figure out how to make it work for the overall like story. He basically rolls with the punches really well with a group of like novices essentially. Like I think Vinny's the only person that has played much in either of these, and everyone else has either never played anything at all or has only like dabbled a couple of like small times. But they're fun. Like I said, they're mostly self-contained, other than like the characters are kind of like used throughout them. It's about 6.5 hours, so it is a lot, but they're fun. And I figure, Rich, like if you can do 8 hours of Critical Role, like this shouldn't be too bad for you.
No, it's I'll have plenty of time to listen to it.
Yeah, so I guess 2 weeks from now would make that the 25th is when we... Oh, that's... I guess here's a good question. Are you guys able to record on Thanksgiving Eve on the 24th?
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Okay, cool. So this will be our Thanksgiving episode then. We will be talking about these Beastcast...
The Giant Beastcast Christmas episodes.
Yep. And I'll put direct links to these episodes, to the free feed episodes, in the show notes. Rich, if you want to listen to these at like sped up time at all, you'll have to just download like subscribe to like the podcast feed and just grab those individual episodes. They unfortunately at this point in the show hadn't started putting them on YouTube yet, so it's on their website's player, which doesn't have speed options, or like in whatever podcast app, like Podcast Addict, you can just turn it up to whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're fun. I have fond memories, especially of the train snake one.
Same. When you mentioned it in text, I was like, the first thing that came to my brain was trains.
Yeah. When you kind of passed on your turn, I figured like that was the closest to a thing that you would have probably picked.
Yeah.
So I figured why the fuck not? I mean, Drew, for real, we could just have Richie start watching a bunch of Giant Bomb content.
This is true. Like we could make him watch Mario Party.
Or
you think Mario Party's good? Here's 4 fucking hours of one game of Mario Party.
I don't know.
With someone always hitting the L button to make Waluigi go wah, wah,
I don't know, man. Some of those Mario Party
fucking hours.
4 hours of that. Those are pretty fun Mario Party rounds.
I fucking love the Mario Party. Like,
here's the thing, though, guys. I'll sit there and dedicate 4 hours of doing nothing else but watching this, probably social mediaing while watching it. I won't be doing anything. If that's what you guys are going to have me watch and talk about, I'll dedicate the time to watch and talk about.
Oh, I know. I was mostly joking.
Though legit, I love the Mario Party videos. Like, I have watched them multiple times. They are my, like, I'm depressed, I really don't feel like watching anything. This is joyous.
Yeah,
dumb shit, because 3 of them hate everything. Dan fucking loves it.
And like they all lean into their roles really well. But there's always like the Persona 4 Endurance run,
which I've never watched.
It's only like 38 hours. Like are you guys good with doing a 38-hour endurance run over the... Actually, I think it's more than that. It's like 150 episodes, and they're like 30 minutes apiece.
That's more like 50 hours.
Yes. Are you guys good with watching like 50 hours of a game from 2008 in 2 weeks? Like, can we? I think we can do that.
I don't literally don't know that there's enough time.
I have two seasons of shows to watch to catch up. No.
Yeah, no,
I don't have that much time.
I would not do that right now anyway, but, like, honestly, like, Drew, for real, like, if when your pick comes up again, if you want to grab, like, a Giant Bomb thing, even if it is a premium one, I'll let Richie borrow my premium for whatever day he wants to watch stuff, as long as it's not, like, a 50-hour thing, because that would just be unreasonable for all of us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he could get a free trial subscription.
Oh, that's true.
Too.
And I think there's content on there that is, like, goofy enough that, like, even Richie, who doesn't, like, know the personalities, would still actually, like, come out of it enjoying, like, a Mario Party or some of, like, the goofier, like, one-off things they do.
Yeah, like, I feel like Mario Party is probably one of the better ones for that kind of thing, because each one is kind of self-contained. Whereas, like,
yeah,
Burgle My Bananas, like, one episode of that's not anything. Or the Steal My Sunshine. It's not really.
Though I would argue that, like, you could do, like, so, like, generally we seem to fall, other than, like, when we pick, like, a movie, we're falling somewhere in, like, the 3 to, like, 7 hour range with a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, theoretically, you could do, like, 3 to 5 episodes of Steal My Sunshine.
True.
And get a pretty good feel for how fucking dumb that was.
This is true.
But, Rich, what was the Batwoman thing you wanted to talk about real quick?
Just the fact that there's DC Comics and Batman, and isn't Batman how DC Comics got its name? It's Detective Comics, and that's...
I don't think DC actually stands for that. It might be related to that, but Batman also didn't debut with Detective Comics. Detective Comics was 27 issues deep before Batman was shown.
That was all. I thought that was funny. It was like, yeah, it's DC Comics. Isn't that Detective Comics? And it was funny.
It may be. I am just not 100% sure. But it's still, I always think it's funny when you have stuff like that, where, like, the comics from, like, a said thing exist in the thing. Like, it's different. Smallville had, like, this comic series that was always kind of, like, mentioned in it. That is not a real comic book. I forget exactly what it was called, but it was a DC, like, it had the DC Comics logo on it, but it was not a real comic book character or anything. So, like, that one was a little bit different, but, like, they've done actual, like, DC Comics in a couple Arrowverse things, I think, right?
I can't fully remember. But according to what I'm looking at, they did change their name to DC Comics after Detective.
Okay, so I didn't
based on Detective Comics.
I didn't think it was based on Detective Comics, but I knew that DC was not their original name. Like, even Marvel went through several names, and, like, both companies were, like, multiple publishers that then, like, combined into one, and then went through a couple different name changes.
Yeah, so DC Comics made a name for themselves in 1939, as they were founded by Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson. During that time, the company was known as National Allied Publications. The initials for DC Comics comic books were taken from the Detective Comics series. That's a bad writing, but this isn't the only site that I've seen that said that the DC is from Detective.
Okay. Well, I'm going to hold off on talking about Ted Lasso.
Mm-hmm.
I can talk about that next week. We went pretty long. We're, like, at a 2:40 right now.
Yep.
So I'll talk about Ted Lasso next week. I actually still have, like, 3 episodes left in season 2, so it'll give me time to finish that up. Spoiler, it's a really funny show, and I don't know if you can still get it, but PlayStation 5 had a 6-month free trial of Apple TV+.
You can't. I tried. I missed it.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
That's a bummer. Because you could only get it on the PS5. Like, you couldn't even get it from, like, the website. Like, you had to download the app and go to it on the PlayStation 5. But yeah, I did that back over the summer when it was there, so I have Apple TV Plus till January. Just opened it for the first time, like, last week to start watching Ted Lasso, and that show is fantastic, and I'll talk about it more next week.
Awesome.
Other than that, do you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
Nope.
No, I think that's a show. That's a good show.
Yeah, it's a good one. So, if you would like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest, where, if you support us at the $5 or $10 tier, you will get the next episode of Bonus Action on Friday. Actually, If you're at the $10 tier, you can get the entirety of it right now. But episode 2 will go up on Friday for $5 patrons, and then episode 2 will release for free on Monday. So, reminder for that. But yeah, support us at Patreon if you can. If you can't support us there with your dollars, you can support us by going to your favorite podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. Those things all help a whole bunch. You can also find us on social media. We are facebook.com/OneQuestOnline or at @1_Quest on Twitter and Instagram. Richie has been posting on all those things a bunch more and kind of cross-promoting with his other show, Brose. So there's some more stuff happening on those feeds than when I was the one in charge. You can also find our YouTube channel, youtube.com/OneQuestVideo. And you can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. But that'll do it for this week. We'll be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
See you.
Bye.